Chapter 111. Lu Qing held back the urge to scream and run around the classroom. He lowered his head and showed his pure joy to Yanjika. I feel like I can't calm down. I'm so happy that I want to jump down from the teaching building and swim in the lake. Yanjika smiled shyly. You'll scare your teacher to death. So angry. If we weren't in class, I would have shouted. Lu Qing was almost incoherent. His body was full of joy. He couldn't help but ask, when did you start to, like me? Yanjika replied with a dumbfounded expression. When did I say I like you? When did I accept your confession? I only said to be happy for 5 minutes. Lu Qing instantly calmed down as if he had fallen into an ice cave. His heart was full of anxiety and uneasiness. At this moment he saw Yanjika continue saying, if you want me to accept, you have to go through 81 tests, not including the life instructors. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief and was overjoyed again. He felt like he had gone through a roller coaster game. It turned out to be a girl's pride and thin skin. No problem, I'll accept all the tests. He quickly expressed his determination. You have to remember this. After saying this, Yanjika said with a shy expression, then when did you start to like me? Lu Qing, who was overwhelmed by joy and excitement, answered honestly, In fact, I had a crush on you in high school. I'll go to the balcony and be happy for 5 more minutes, Yanjika said with a blush expression. Then she seemed to realize something. Wow. You didn't meet me by chance. You just wanted to hit on me. And I was so happy that I met an acquaintance, a classmate with a normal relationship. I didn't have to worry about being pestered. If I had known, I wouldn't have given you my QQ number. Even though Yanjika couldn't see it, Lu Qing subconsciously scratched his head and replied with a silly smile, Ha! After that he added, You don't know how nervous I was at that time. I was afraid that you would see through my flirting and didn't give me a good face or contact number. Yanjika said with a snickering expression, If I didn't give you my number, what would you do? Are you giving up just like that? Considering my newbie status, it would be hard for me to muster up the courage for a second rejection. Of course, with little Ming's encouragement and guidance, I can't rule out the possibility of repeated failures. Lu Qing thought in relief and typed quickly, How could that be? I joined the martial arts club because of you, so of course I have to take advantage of this opportunity. So you joined the martial arts club because of me? Yanjika seemed a little surprised. That's right. When I passed by the martial arts club's recruitment booth, I happened to see you, so I forced little Ming to sign up. I think this is not a coincidence but fate. After the successful confession, Lu Qing felt that his face had become thicker and thicker. In the past he had dared to say a few ambiguous and suggestive words, but now he could say such mushy words without blushing or panting. Yanjika replied with a smiley face and asked, Then why do you like me? What do you like about me? I don't know why I like you. At first, when I passed by your class to look at the pretty girls, I was just admiring them. Later on, I realized that I would unconsciously look at the beautiful figure diagonally in front of me. I would always quiet down and listen attentively when others mentioned you. I would always guess what rank you got when the grade was announced. That was when I suddenly realized that I like you. Lu Qing didn't embellish his words and spoke from the bottom of his heart. Without waiting for Yanjika's reply, he continued to type. At that time, maybe I was just admiring a perfect girl and projected all the beautiful thoughts in my heart on you. I was moved by myself and hinted at myself. But after I really got to know you, I realized that you are a real girl with your own feelings and shortcomings. However, the more I know you, the more I find that I like you. I like you who always pursed your lips and smiled. I like you who unconsciously turned your head to one side when you showed your emotions. I like you who was elegant and delicate. I like you who was lively and cheerful inside. I like you who didn't put on airs and liked to joke. I like you who was obsessed with martial arts. I like you who grew up with me. I like you who analyzed my enemies for me. I like you who sang and cheered for me. I like you who didn't like to be pestered by boys. I like you who liked to laze in bed. I like you who would occasionally throw tantrums. I like you who wanted to improve your martial arts but didn't dare to. I like you so much. I like you so much. After typing this pile of words, Lu Qing looked back and was a little surprised. When did I unlock the love words skill? Is this what it means to say that every word and sentence comes from love? After a while, Yanjika replied, It's all because of you. My face is so red and hot and my eyes are a little wet. My roommates are coming back soon. I'll go wash up and put on my face. I won't let them find out so they won't gossip. Okay, go quickly. Lu Qing said with uncontrollable joy. When he looked up, he was suddenly stunned because the whole classroom was empty, except for a few students studying by themselves and Kai Zongming standing in front of him. Class is over? Lu Qing asked blankly. Kai Zongming spread his hands and smiled. Obviously. Why didn't I know? Lu Qing said subconsciously again. How could you know when you're so obsessed with love that you can't extricate yourself? Kai Zongming raised his eyebrows. Look at you, you're itching to go out and run a few laps naked. Did you have a breakthrough? I can't believe you were still wearing that face of a dead man just now. But then again, the right amount of friction and reconciliation can really improve feelings. Lu Qing couldn't wait to share his happiness. Yes, I confessed and she said yes. Cough, cough, cough. Kai Zongming almost choked on his own saliva. You confessed just like that? You confessed on QQ? She actually said yes. Lu Qing said with a face full of joy. Yeah, I typed out my confession on impulse. Typed? Didn't you calm down while you were typing? Kai Zongming glanced at a few students studying by themselves and lowered his voice. You know, when a person is emotional and impulsive, they really don't care about anything else. Also, my confession was only a dozen words. When I regained my composure, I would have already sent it out, not a bunch of words. At that time, my feelings were like this. Who am I? Where am I? What the F***ck did I do? Lu Qing described the state he was in when he confessed. Kai Zongming was stunned for a moment and sighed. It's quite normal really. If you don't make a few mistakes and be impulsive, how can it be called first love? How can it be called pure and passionate? Good thing you're in luck and laid the foundation in place. Otherwise you'd be waiting for 10 moves to reject you. Phew. Lu Qing exhaled a long breath. I'm also quite scared. If she rejected me, I would have no chance at all. Kai Zongming smiled and said, It's good that you know how to be scared. According to my guidance, within 3 months, you have more than a 90% chance of successfully holding hands and establishing a relationship. If you impulsively confessed, it's really up to fate. As for being rejected, hey, what's there to be afraid of? Sometimes, a girl rejects you not because she doesn't like you, but because it's not enough for her to make up her mind to change her life. You still need to add fuel to the fire. Be thick-skinned and pretend that you didn't confess. Continue to stick to her and control the degree of entanglement. You'll still have a chance to win her heart. As the saying goes, a strong woman is afraid of a pestering man. Of course, if she becomes very cold after you confess and doesn't change for a while, then quit while you're ahead. Lu Qing smiled and squinted his eyes. Fortunately, she also likes me. After saying this, he jumped up from his seat and felt that he needed to vent the ecstasy in his heart. So he packed his school bag and pulled Kai Zongming. Talker, let's run back. Run? As soon as Kai Zongming spat out a word, he was pulled by Lu Qing to run like the wind. They ran down the stairs of the teaching building, ran past several buildings, ran across the long bridge, ran across the square, ran across the pedestrian street, and ran all the way into the yard of the 7th male dormitory. Phew. Kai Zongming gasped and retched. You were the one who wanted to run. Why did you pull me? Damn it, it's not like I succeeded in confessing. It's fine to run, but why did you run so fast? Lu Qing chuckled. Am I not excited? He took out his phone and wanted to see if Jianghu had finished washing up. But he found that she had already replied to several messages. Well, Qing, you should be on your way back to the dormitory, right? There are some words that I'm too embarrassed to say to you directly. Now is the time to tell you secretly. Didn't you just ask me when I started to like you a little? On a whim, I wanted to wait until the early hours of the morning to call you and wish you a happy birthday. Then I suddenly realized that I like you a little. I'm happy for you, I'm worried for you, I'm anxious for you, and I'm also angry for you. When you brought me the roasted eggplant and other dishes, I was really happy and moved. I turned my head away because I didn't want you to see my ugly face when I was about to cry. But in order to treat me to a meal, you specially went to check the time and taste the food. That silly and serious look of yours made me happy for a long time. I kept thinking that if this continued, I would like you more and more. But today you suddenly confessed to me. I was really very happy just now. It was an experience that I've never had in my life. But there was also a lot of hesitation and confusion. I wasn't mentally prepared. I didn't like you more and more. I didn't have the courage to change my current life and accept the sudden addition of another person in my life. That's why I was silent for so long until you asked. When you asked me, I was also asking myself. Was I willing to miss you? Was I willing to miss the silly Lu Qing? I thought about it and felt that if I really missed you, I would be very sad and very regretful. Since I've started to like you, why not give it a try? Qing, I may need a little more time to accept the change. I may need to wait for a while before I can like you as much as you like me. I may need to slowly conquer my cowardice and gather my courage bit by bit to be a good girlfriend. Are you willing to wait for me? Lu Cheng's eyes were wet. He nodded hard even if the girl couldn't see it. He took a deep breath and replied, I'm willing. I'm willing to wait for you for a lifetime. He felt that his heart had become very light. Although he wasn't as ecstatic and excited as before, there was a faint sense of peace and joy. It was as if the bright moonlight shone into the softest part of his heart. Different emotions equally beautiful. P.S. As requested, I'm feeding you dog food in advance. No, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. Chapter 112. At this moment, Lu Qing only felt that everything was so beautiful. The students walking in and out were so cute, the background noise was so pleasant, and even the cold and damp air seemed to have a little sweetness, refreshing and pleasant. It was not even the 15th day yet, but the moon was so bright and full. Yanjika quickly replied to his mushy promise and said with a cute face, What are you talking about? Why can't I understand? My account was hacked just now. Yes, it was hacked. Lu Qing almost laughed out loud. He seemed to have pictured the girl's proud and shy face in his mind, so he replied with a serious face, Damn it, how dare they hack our Coach Yan's account? I will write down what she said in a small notebook and recall it 100 times every day to make the most profound condemnation. He didn't know why, but after the confession he felt less restrained in front of girls and more comfortable in flirting. Yanjika seemed to be speechless for a moment. She sent a long string of ellipses and then said, Forget it. Delete it. Humph, you just confessed and you want to recall someone else every day? Okay, I'll forget it right away. After replying, Lu Qing added with a smile, But I won't forget what I promised. Yanjika said with a blank face. Have you been in love before? Why do you sound so good? I'm a little flustered. Cute girls nowadays like to use the word flustered, instead of flustered. Lu Qing thought and hurriedly explained, No, I like you since the first awakening of love. I don't know how to speak, I just express the most honest thoughts in my heart. I say what I think without any modification. You even know how to use the first awakening of love. Yanjika snickered. Unfortunately, I didn't dare to visit you in high school because I was afraid of being surrounded. I didn't have the chance to see the first awakening of love. At that time, I must be even more stupid than now. Lu Qing heard that and smiled. Indeed, I was more stupid and less confident at that time. Except for learning and playing games, I was timid in other aspects. I'm not generous enough. Fortunately, you don't remember it or it would be a black history. He calmly described his past and faced Yanjika with his truest self. I was the same at that time. I had low self-esteem. I thought everyone else was fine, but I didn't dare to go deep into martial arts. I could only watch with envy. Yanjika didn't dislike Lu Cheng's frustration in high school. Instead, she resonated with him. Lu Qing didn't want Yanjika to be immersed in the sadness of the past, so he changed the topic and said emotionally, I was so happy just now. I wanted to shout, but I was afraid that I would scare others, so I had to drag little Ming all the way back. We ran at a speed close to sprinting. He was so tired that he was panting. He hasn't recovered yet, but I still wanted to shout, I'm so happy. Poor little Ming. Yanjika couldn't help but laugh. Don't provoke others. Be careful that some single students will throw things at you. Little Ming is not pitiful at all. In the future, I will give him a big red packet as a matchmaker. Nothing can be better than this. Lu Qing laughed secretly. To be honest, just now I wanted to run to your dormitory door. Even if it was just to take a look at you, it would be nice. But when I saw your, hacked message, I felt that it might scare you and make you more resistant, so I held myself back. We still have a long time, so it's better to take it slow. After sending this message, he felt that his sweet talk skills were activated again. Was this an instinct that all men have, or was it his talent? Yanjika replied with a blushing and smiling emoji. That's a good Qing. Being praised, Lu Qing beamed with joy and asked curiously, Have you known that I like you for a long time? Yes, a little bit. At that time, I was wondering what was wrong with this classmate. Why did he chat with me every day? Although we got along quite well, if he had the guts to confess to me or woo me, I would have cruelly rejected him. Yanjika replied with an emoji rolling her eyes at the sky. Luckily I know how to do it step by step. Lu Qing said, wiping cold sweat. This is all thanks to little Ming's patient guidance. A good teacher and helpful friend does not deceive me. I'm too stupid to be fooled by your harmless act. Yanjika said, crying face. I'll lie to you for a lifetime. Lu Qing was too embarrassed to say such mushy words. Suddenly he felt a pat on his shoulder. He saw Kai Zongming coming back to his senses. He pointed at the time on his phone and then turned to look at the dorm. Damn, it's already 10 o'clock. How did the beautiful time pass so quickly? Lu Qing felt melancholy. Normally the evening class ended at 9:35. He had wasted a lot of time coming back. After chatting for a long time, it was actually quite normal for it to be around 10 o'clock. But he had to go to bed at 10:30. He really couldn't bear to leave. He thought for a while and told Yenjika how he felt. Unknowingly, it's already 10 o'clock. I have to go to bed. I have to wake up early tomorrow to train. I couldn't bear to leave and wanted to go to bed at 12. But I remembered what little Ming said before. Don't be afraid to woo her just because you're not good enough for her. You have to change yourself for her, improve yourself and work hard to be good enough for her. I want to be good enough for you, so I can't relax my training requirements. That was not the original words, but the meaning was close enough. Yenjika said, if you didn't say it, I would have urged you to go to bed. Go and wash up. Good night later. Okay. Lu Qing replied happily. At this time, Yenjika replied to another message. Well, I like the silly Cheng and I also like the Cheng who focuses on martial arts training seriously. Ah, so annoying. That guy is so annoying. My account was hacked again. Don't reply. Lu Cheng's eyebrows relaxed and his heart warmed. He was so happy that he couldn't hide his smile. He also felt that Yenjika was so cute and he liked her very much. Well, I didn't see anything and I didn't reply. He sent a message seriously. Lu Qing put his phone in his pocket and looked up. He saw Kai Zongming shaking his head and smirking. This little face reminds me of the first time I fell in love in elementary school. You can say whatever you want. I'm in a good mood today, so I don't care. Lu Qing said happily. Kai Zongming laughed. Then I'll say something to discourage you. In a relationship, the one who confesses first and gives more will lose the initiative and lose the upper hand. Lu Qing looked at him in confusion. Why do I have to take the initiative and gain the upper hand in my relationship with her? I like her more and I spoil her. Isn't that good enough? Kai Zongming looked at him blankly and his mouth twitched. I'm going to vomit for a while. It's so disgusting. Hee hee. Lu Qing didn't take it seriously. He went back to the dormitory and quickly washed up. He wanted to climb into bed directly and skip the small talk with Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao. But he changed his mind and turned on his laptop. He used Cloud Sync to transfer the chat history to the computer version and saved several copies in different places. This is a good memory that I can recall for a lifetime. What will it be like when I'm old and white and my teeth are loose? How will I feel when I cuddle up with Yenjika? He turned off the computer, took off his clothes and climbed into bed. He said with a smirk, I'm lying down. I can't sleep until you say good night. It would gradually evolve into hugging and kissing later. Yenjika covered her mouth and laughed. Okay, good night, good night. Go to sleep. I'm going to sleep too. I'm so tired today. Good night. Dream of me. Lu Qing plucked up the courage to say that. Bah. I don't want to. Yenjika replied shyly. The night gradually quieted down. Lu Qing fell asleep with a smile. He seemed to be as happy in his dream. The next morning he showed up at the lakeside on time. Looking at the misty dusk, he suddenly felt a little regretful. According to the novels he had read, the posts he had read, and the friends in college all had good memories of having breakfast delivered to them. But he had to get up early in the morning to practice, so he couldn't experience this feeling. He always felt that he couldn't do better. Suddenly he had a flash of inspiration. It's not that I don't have time. I can make use of the time. I can start practice 20 minutes earlier and finish 20 minutes earlier. And when I'm practicing endurance, I can run far away. I can buy Yenjika a breakfast that's not from the cafeteria on the way. When I figure out what kind of breakfast she likes in Songqing, I can implement it. Excited, he practiced harder and harder. Seeing this, Geezer sure was stunned. He always felt that his stupid disciple had taken something like strength pill or stimulant. While punching and kicking, Lu Qing visualized the image of thunderclouds shaking, which moved his throat and chest and pulled his internal organs, making a sound similar to thunder. With the tremor force in the training method, he shook his bones and marrow little by little. Step by step, he tempered the hard-to-reach parts of his body. Unconsciously, the morning practice time was over. He hurriedly ate breakfast and couldn't wait to fly to the martial arts arena, because he could see Yenjika. As soon as he stepped into the door, his eyes were like a radar. He looked over and met Yenjika's eyes. Yenjika suddenly avoided his eyes and lowered her eyes. Her long black eyelashes trembled and her cheeks flushed. But she quickly looked up and glanced at Lu Cheng. Then she turned her head to the side in a flirtatious manner. Lu Cheng didn't know why he also blushed. He knew that girls were thin-skinned and hadn't fully adjusted, so he didn't recklessly greet her. Instead, he returned to his seat and peeped at her from time to time. And he could always catch Yenjika's eyes, which filled his heart with tacit understanding and sweetness. For the whole morning the two of them looked at each other like this. Time flew by quickly, and they were about to enter the final part of their training. At this time, Geezer Sher coughed and said, "The preliminary schedule has been drawn up. More than 20 teams from Songqing have signed up and formed a division with several surrounding cities. There are 4 groups of 8 to 9 teams in each group. They will fight in a single round and draw lots to decide the home and away games. The top 2 teams with the best records will advance and compete with the other teams in the other groups for 2 places in the division. We are in the 3rd group with 8 teams. That is to say, no matter whether we can advance or not, we can fight 7 games. Our first opponent is the local Hongluo Martial Arts School in Songqing on the afternoon of the 17th. We will be the away game. I will send the video materials to the members who will participate in the preliminaries. You can think about it in these 2 days." Hearing this, Lu Cheng was refreshed. He was in high spirits and eager to have a try. Friends of Hongluo Martial Arts School, please feel my happiness and excitement. Chapter 113. After the practice, Lu Cheng glanced at Yenjika's side and was about to approach her. Kai Zongming, who had been ravaged by the gorilla again, couldn't help but tease them. "You've been practicing flirting all morning. Isn't that enough? Think about the feelings of a single dog. Think about me, a foreign dog." Haha. Lu Cheng laughed and then found an excuse. "I have to confirm the arrangement for tomorrow." Then, without waiting for Kai Zongming's response, he strode over to Yenjika. "So punctual." Guiqing teased, wiped the sweat on her forehead and went back to the female locker room. Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other and smiled. They both saw the shyness in each other's eyes, but the awkwardness was gone. Instead, there was an indescribable sweetness. "She knows about us?" Lu Cheng casually found a topic. Yenjika crossed her hands in front of her and looked to the side. Her cheeks were red again. She spat and said, "What can happen between us? You're the one who is too obvious. She always teases me with you, saying that Cheng is probably chasing you. What are you thinking?" "Then what are you thinking?" Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Yenjika suddenly glanced at him, which made his heart beat fast. "I'm not thinking about anything. At times like this I usually make fun of her in Qiuzhigao." Seeing that Lu Cheng didn't act too close to her and just flirted with her more than usual, she seemed to relax a lot. She stopped crossing her hands, one hanging down and the other playing with the hair that had escaped from her ponytail. "Have they made any progress?" Lu Cheng asked casually. Yenjika slightly frowned. "No progress. Anyway, Guiqing has been worried about this recently. You and Qiu Zhigao are in the same dormitory. Do you know what he thinks? He's a study maniac. He goes out early and comes back late every day. We can only meet in some classes and chat for half an hour before I go to bed. Anyway, if we're not joking, he won't mention Guiqing." Lu Cheng sold Qiu Zhigao out without hesitation. Now that he had won Yenjika's heart, he didn't care whether he could maintain a friendly relationship with Guiqing. After that, he changed the topic. "Are we going to have lunch or dinner tomorrow?" He already had an answer to this question in his heart, but no matter what, he had to consider the girl's opinion first. If the girl was hesitant, then he would make a quick decision himself. This way he would respect the girl and also show that he had his own opinions and confidence. Yenjika looked up cutely and said, "Let's go at noon. If we are delayed by something at night, we might miss the last school bus." Okay. Lu Cheng agreed without hesitation. In fact, he was thinking about dinner because the special training would end at noon, so it would be a rush to get there. After a whole morning of martial arts training he was fine, but Yenjika must be tired. She should take a shower, take a nap and have a rest first. But since the girl chose to eat at noon, he had to agree. In the sentence "date with Yenjika," the important thing was Yenjika, not date. He vaguely understood the reason for Yenjika's choice. It was mainly because he confessed too hastily and made her accept it too hastily. She hadn't adapted to the change of role and had an instinctive fear of not being able to take the school bus at night. He needed to make her lower her guard bit by bit with his good performance. Thinking of this, he smiled and said, "Today I'll take the opportunity to watch the videos and materials of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Tomorrow I have to hurry up and ask Coach Yen for guidance. Haha. Yenjika couldn't help but laugh. Her eyebrows relaxed and she said, "Not bad. You know I'm Coach Yen." On this topic the two chatted happily. There was a touch of sweetness in their eyes. At this time, Guqing finished her shower and came out of the women's locker room. She looked at the two in surprise and blurted out, "You're still chatting? How long have you been chatting?" She looked back and forth between Lu Qing and Yenjika with suspicion. Yenjika pretended to be normal and said, "Let's talk about Hongluo Martial Arts School later. I'm going to take a shower first." After that she didn't dare to look at Lu Cheng or Guqing. She hurried into the women's locker room and her cheeks seemed to be flushed again. "Haha, I'm going to take a shower too." Lu Cheng avoided Guqing's eyes and laughed dryly. He walked to the men's locker room. Guqing couldn't help but twitch her mouth and whisper, "Something's wrong." At noon the next day, Lu Cheng rushed into the men's locker room as soon as the training ended. His speed was so fast that no one could catch up with him. He didn't talk to Yenjika today because they had agreed to meet at the school bus station at 12:50. After carefully washing his body, he didn't wait for Kai Zongming and rushed back to the dormitory. He opened the wardrobe and according to the guidance of Casanova last night, he chose the short leather jacket that made him look more spirited and changed into a pair of beige slacks. He wanted to look clean and fresh. After changing clothes, he suppressed his excitement and went to the washstand. He seriously shaved his beard and styled his hair. He couldn't wait to do every detail to the best of his ability. After busying himself, he looked at his phone and found that it was only 12:30. There were still 20 minutes before the meeting. It would take him at most 5 or 6 minutes to walk from the dormitory to the school bus station. "Let's go and wait," Lu Qing thought. He was both excited and nervous at the same time. This was the first date in his life. When he passed by the supermarket on the pedestrian street, he suddenly had an idea. He turned around and walked straight in. From the time she got on the school bus to the time the spicy crab was ready, it would take at least 50 minutes. That was to say, Yenjika wouldn't be able to eat anything until after 1:40 p.m. She had been training all morning and needed to replenish her energy. By that time she would be very hungry. I should buy some snacks for her to eat on the way. While choosing, Lu Qing recalled Yenjika's words and tried to find what she liked. Well, she doesn't like sweet biscuits. She prefers soda-flavored biscuits. I can't buy too much. It will affect the following arrangements. A few minutes later, Lu Qing took a small bag of biscuits to the cashier. He thought for a while and added a small bottle of mineral water. He didn't ask for a bag and put them in his left and right pockets. I have to give her a surprise. When he arrived at the bus stop, he put his hands in the pockets of his leather jacket to hide their bulging. Not long after, he saw a beautiful figure walking towards him gracefully. Yenjika was wearing a pink sweater inside and a long white down jacket outside. Her hat was trimmed with the same color fur, which made her look delicate and pink. She was wearing black leggings, which made her legs look long and straight. She was wearing a pair of snow boots, which made her look cute and witty. Lu Qing was a little bit fascinated by her. He took a deep breath and told himself to be generous and not timid. Then he pulled out his hands and walked up to her. He smiled and said, "You seem to arrive early every time." When he got closer he found that Yenjika was carrying a cute shoulder bag with thin straps. She looked like a student. Yenjika wasn't as open as usual. She lowered her head and smiled. "I hate it when people are late. I put myself in your shoes and arrived early." She hates it when people are late. Lu Qing remembered this. He turned around and pointed at the school bus. "Just in time. This bus is leaving soon. I've already bought the tickets." "Okay." Yenjika nodded slightly. She seemed a little shy. She quietly followed Lu Qing. Half a step behind, they boarded the school bus and found seats together. After letting her sit by the window, Lu Qing cheered himself up to ease the girl's uneasiness. He deliberately said, "It's already so late. Are you hungry?" Yenjika was stunned. She slowly nodded and said, "A little. It takes 20 or 30 minutes to get to the old campus. We have to take a taxi and wait for the food to be served. I'm afraid we can't eat in 50 minutes. Lu Qing deliberately analyzed. Suddenly he took out a small bag of biscuits from his pocket. I brought you some soda biscuits. You can eat them first so that your stomach won't hurt." Yenjika raised her right hand and covered her mouth. She looked at Lu Qing in surprise. When she saw the bag of biscuits clearly, her eyes were filled with joy. "Then I'll eat a few pieces first," she said in a low voice, the corner of her mouth curling up unconsciously. Lu Qing hurriedly helped her open the packaging and handed it to her. Yenjika reached out and took a piece out with her slender fingers. She was about to put it into her mouth when she suddenly stopped and whispered, "I didn't bring water. Eating only biscuits will make me uncomfortable." Lucheng smiled and, magically, took out a small bottle of mineral water. He unscrewed the cap and looked straight into her eyes. "I've already prepared it for you." Yenjika's pink lips slightly opened. A layer of hazy mist quickly passed through her beautiful eyes. She turned her head and looked out of the window. Biting her lips, she smiled and said, "I was wondering what you put in your pocket." "So it's these?" Watching her eat the biscuits and drink the water delicately, Lucheng struck while the iron was hot. He took out his phone and played a video he had downloaded in advance. "This is the competition highlights of Hongluo Martial Arts School's principal, Jianghu. Kochian, what do you think?" The principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School was a professional sixth-pin dance stage master named Wang Hui. He was already old. The main force this time was his disciples and disciples. The leader was Jianghu, a professional ninth pin, his personal disciple, ranked 5th and 34 years old. Yenjika leaned her head over and looked at the video with her bright eyes. "I studied it seriously last night." According to the information on the internet, the principal of the school, Wang Hui, once had a background in the Longhu Club. Therefore, their boxing obviously has the shadow of the unique skill of the fire sect. They are good at exploding and attacking. They also have the secret burning force. Once hit, the force will explode and cause a burning sensation on the skin. It's somewhat similar to your supernatural ability of blaze, but it doesn't have the tremor force you described. Lucheng also leaned a little closer to her. Looking at her soft black hair and smelling the refreshing fragrance, he was a little distracted and almost couldn't concentrate. He had to force himself to use the condensation stance and said seriously, "Their fighting style does have the flavor of fire-like invasion. Exploding, 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 trying to crush the enemy before they are exhausted." On this point, Jianghu is more cautious, while Fang Tong is more violent, like an uncontrollable flame. But Jianghu has mastered a killer move better. It seems that he has compressed the force of his whole body to a very small range before exploding. It has the flavor of dance stage. Yenjika said in high spirits. Her previous nervousness and uneasiness had unknowingly dissipated by more than half. Fang Tong was another professional ninth pin master in Hongluo Martial Arts School. He was the disciple of the principal of the school, Wang Hui. He was a powerful fighter at the age of 23. The Hongluo Martial Arts School team with 2 professional ninth pin masters could be considered average in the preliminaries. They talked about this matter on the way. When they arrived at the old campus, Lucheng was pleasantly surprised to find that Yenjika seemed to have returned to normal, except that she would blush occasionally when he stared at her. The two walked in the campus and rushed to the nearest north gate. The online hailing car was waiting there. The spring chill was still there and the wind was very chilly. Lucheng unconsciously peeked at Yenjika's left hand. The girl's skin was white and tender, her fingers were long and slender, and her fingernails were pink and healthy. "If I hold her hand, will she shake me off?" Thump, thump, thump. As this idea suddenly emerged, Lucheng's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Various thoughts flashed in his mind back and forth. Although she said that she needs to adapt to the state of being in a relationship, since we are already in a relationship, it should be okay to hold her hand, right? Will this make her unhappy? Will she think that I don't respect her and hold her hand before she is ready? Just when he was hesitating, Yenjika suddenly put her hands into the pockets of her down jacket and said with a smile, "It's still quite cold today." Yeah. Lucheng was speechless. Well, no need to struggle. Yenjika looked at him and asked curiously, "Cheng, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing. I'm just afraid that you will be hungry, so I feel a little guilty." Lucheng said his real thoughts but not the thoughts just now. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled, "This is the time I chose. What does it have to do with you?" While chatting, the two arrived at the north gate. They got on the online hailing car and came to the Dingshang spicy crab. The lunch market ended at 2:30. Lucheng had already checked, so he was not worried that he could not make it in time. 6 crabs, the kind that costs 499 yuan. Lucheng blurted out the words he had long prepared when he saw the waiter. He did not plan to care about money on the first date. When the waiter was about to record it, Yenjika pulled Lucheng, pursed her lips and said, "Let's go with the 199 yuan one. The taste of crabs is about the same. The bigger the crab, the heavier the shell. It's not worth it. The 199 yuan one is just right. If it's smaller, there won't be much meat in the crab legs." She stared at Lucheng with her clear black and white eyes, indicating her opinion. Seeing the girl so insistent and thinking that her grandfather's family was in Jiangnan, which was a good place to eat crabs, Lu Qing was not the kind of person who would puff himself up at his own cost. He nodded and said, "Okay, let's go with the 199 yuan one. Let's go with 4 first. Didn't you say that we can eat them as hot pot later? Didn't you say that their handmade noodles are very good?" It's boring to just eat crabs, Yenjika said seriously. Lu Qing thought about it and agreed. So he said with a smile, "Coach Yen, you are so comprehensive." "Of course." Yenjika raised her chin and smiled. They found a quiet place and sat down. As usual, they chatted about various things. It seemed that they had endless topics to talk about until the waiter brought the spicy crab to them. The aroma filled their nostrils. Lu Qing made a gesture to let Yenjika taste it first. Seeing the girl pick up a piece with a smile and nibble it gently, he suddenly felt a little nervous. He was worried that it would not be to her taste. Yenjika sucked the meat out of the crab leg skillfully. She closed her eyes and said with a smile, "It tastes really good. The sweetness of the crab meat is not lost, and the spiciness is very appetizing." Phew. Lu Qing was relieved as if he had been praised. He said with a smile, "Then you eat more. Don't just watch. You are the main force who can eat 5 yuan of rice." Yenjika joked with a smile. After finishing the spicy crab and rice cake, she was waiting for the hot pot to boil. She asked with great interest, "Qing, what kind of fighting style are you going to use tomorrow?" Lu Qing had already thought about it. He said after some consideration, "If Hongluo Martial Arts School paid attention to this, they would have searched for my name. That is to say, they should know my fighting style and my strengths except for the power of blaze. Since it's a martial arts competition, I will definitely try my best. I don't want to leave my trump card for the future. So, as long as I fight, I will use the power of blaze to open the way and try to defeat the opponent quickly. When the second opponent loses the element of surprise, I want to pretend to move with mercurial balance. Once I find an opportunity, I will immediately suppress them with 24 blizzard strikes. I won't give them any chance to break out." How could he not try his best in an official competition in front of the girl he loved for the first time? Yenjika rested her cheek on her left hand and listened attentively. Her eyes seemed to be shining. After discussing the fighting style for a while and eating the hot pot, they paid the bill with full hearts. Because of the discount, they spent more than 900 yuan. For Lu Qing, who was rich and generous, after participating in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, it didn't cause any heartache. Instead, he felt that it was worth it. As long as the girl was satisfied. After leaving the restaurant, Lu Qing unconsciously coughed and pretended that nothing had happened. "Let's go to the shopping mall over there. It's good for digestion." Okay. Yenjika didn't object. The two of them walked side by side. The girl's scent, which was both clear and musk, entered Lu Qing's nose, making him feel impulsive and expectant. He took a quick glance at the girl and found that her hands were swaying beside her and not in her pockets. It seemed that she had just finished eating the hot pot and was still warm. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing heard his heart beating faster again. Should I hold her hand? She is not completely ready yet. But she likes me a little. She also agreed to my confession. Holding hands should be allowed, right? Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing wanted to hold her hand but didn't dare to. He was afraid that he would upset the girl and leave a bad impression on her. Suddenly he had a flash of inspiration. He thought of the method that Kai Zongming had taught him before. Should I try that? Pretend to hold her hand but don't really hold her hand. Thump, thump, thump. This idea completely defeated all other thoughts. Lu Qing couldn't restrain himself anymore. While chatting with Yenjika, he looked straight ahead and slowly reached his right hand to the side. Thump, thump, thump. Thump, thump, thump. Although it was just a fake hand-holding, Lu Qing's heart felt like it was going to jump out of his chest. He didn't know how the girl would react or feel. Because of the unknown, he was nervous. Because of the importance, he was scared. Thump, thump, thump. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing swallowed his saliva with difficulty. His right hand was stiff and trembling as he pulled Yenjika's delicate hand. When he touched the back of the girl's hand, he felt that her skin was delicate, smooth and slightly cold. In his listening skill, he sensed that Yenjika's left hand suddenly shrank, but then froze there. She didn't withdraw her hand but maintained a slight contact. There seemed to be a ray of light hanging down in Lu Qing's mind, illuminating all the darkness. He didn't dare to look at Yenjika. He turned his palm over and held her slightly thin hand tightly. He was extremely excited and nervous. Listening skill can be used in this way, The girl beside him was counting ants with her head down. Lu Qing held her delicate hand and felt as if he was stepping on clouds. All he could think of was the place where their skin touched. He had completely forgotten what day it was. His palms were sweating because of excitement and nervousness. He just wanted to hold Yanjika's hand like this and walk forever. It would be best if they could never reach the end of the road. He completely ignored the surrounding scenery and the shops they passed. After a long time, Yanjika asked softly, "Where are we going?" Lu Qing suddenly woke up with a start. He looked around with a dumbfounded expression. "Where are we?" He explained in a panic. I was too excited and nervous. I didn't look at the road, and my palm is sweaty and wet." Yanjika must hate it. Strong annoyance filled his heart. Yanjika glanced at him and suddenly smiled. She pulled back her hand, took off her backpack and took out a tissue. She handed it to him and said with a smile, "You didn't sweat so much even when you were in the challenge tournament?" Lu Qing took the tissue and wiped the sweat on his right hand. He felt a sense of loss and emptiness. He felt that his performance today was not good enough. They probably wouldn't have the chance to hold hands again. He had to wait for the next time. At this moment he suddenly felt a softness in his palm. The girl's cold left hand reached over and gently held the edge of his palm. Lu Qing was wild with joy. He held her hand tightly and looked up. He saw Yanjika turn her head to the other side. Her delicate ears were red and the skin on the side of her face was as smooth as jade. There was a touch of soul-stirring redness. P.S. When I was writing this chapter, a song that I used to listen to often echoed in my mind. The first time I held your hands, I lost my way and didn't know where to go. Did I reveal my age? PS2. I had something to do today, so I was running around outside. 2 chapters will be released at the same time. There will be no more chapters tonight. But this is a good time to release them at the same time. I wrote the main point of the date and revealed the first opponent of the preliminaries. As for why I didn't release it as an extra chapter, it was because after 2 months of courting death, I successfully ran out of chapters. I'm finished. Chapter 114. Lu Qing felt that he would never forget the scene in front of him. The girl's shyness occupied his sight and filled his heart. Holding the delicate hand that seemed like it would slip away at any moment, he wanted to say something to express the joy and excitement in his heart, but he forced himself not to. Yanjika plucked up her courage and dared to hold his hand. It was better to let her calm down at this time. The more he said, the more he confessed, the more pressure she would feel. She might even get angry out of embarrassment. An elder said it well, "Keep quiet and you can make a fortune. Let's go that way." Lu Qing pretended that nothing had happened and identified the direction, but his right hand that was holding Yanjika's hand tightened and held it firmly. "Okay." Yanjika answered in a low voice. Lu Qing stepped forward happily without looking at her, giving her time to recover. The whole way was as light as a feather, like a couple returning home together. When they arrived at the cake shop he had chosen, they didn't talk much, but their hands unconsciously intertwined. "The fresh cream cake here is very good. It's not too sweet and it's not greasy. I think it suits your taste. Do you want to take one back for breakfast tomorrow?" Lu Qing introduced it to Yanjika, trying to encourage her to go in. Yanjika's black and soft eyebrows moved slightly and she asked in confusion, "How do you know the fresh cream cake here is good?" Lu Qing wanted to say that he had tasted it, but suddenly he felt that it would make her feel touched. After holding hands with her, any further intention to go further could cause pressure to her. After all, she didn't like him very much and completely let down her guard, completely accepting the relationship. If he pushed too much, it could easily cause problems. So he paused and said, "I checked it on the internet and happened to see it." "Checked it on the internet?" Yanjika repeated in a low voice and looked up at the shop sign, "Mimi Bread." She seemed to be moved by Lu Qing's description and didn't refuse. She happily entered the shop and chose a fresh cream cake for herself. She also bought 5 pieces of meat floss bread for Lu Qing. Lu Qing had mentioned that his favorite bread was meat floss when they talked about snacks on QQ. After paying the bill, Lu Qing pretended to be calm. He took the girl's hand again and intertwined his fingers with hers. When Yanjika also held his hand, he secretly felt relieved. Feeling the beauty of intertwining fingers, he carried the cake and bread, chatted casually, and led the girl to another predetermined place. "Are you tired? The environment here seems to be quite nice and quiet. Shall we go in and have a seat?" When they arrived, Lu Qing pretended to be observing and pointed at the coffee shop. He added, "This kind of shop usually has more than just coffee." Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled, showing her dimples. I thought you would drag me all the way. When she said the word drag, a thin blush appeared on her cheeks. She tried to let her senses leave the place where their skin touched and fingers intertwined. Seeing that the girl had recovered and was in the mood to joke, Lu Qing became more excited and said self-deprecatingly, Am I such an inconsiderate person? Who was the one who kept walking all the way until he couldn't recognize the road? Yenjika's dimples deepened and she laughed in a low voice, mercilessly exposing Lu Qing's fright just now. Ah, I'm so excited. Lu Qing finally had a chance to express his feelings just now. At the same time he opened the door of the coffee shop and walked to the secluded booth. When he reached the four-seater booth, he let go of his delicate hand and watched Yenjika sit down. His palm was empty and he felt a sense of loss. Looking at the seat opposite Yenjika and the seat beside her, Lu Qing suddenly had a flash of inspiration. He said seriously, You sit in the inner row. Let's sit in the same row. Later we'll watch other videos of Hongluo Martial Arts School together and ponder over them. I still need to ask Coach Yen to continue her guidance. Thank you, Master. Thank you, friends of Hongluo Martial Arts School. You still remember that I'm Coach Yen? Yenjika joked, but after thinking about it she stood up and moved to the inner seat. Lu Qing quickly sat down with her, took the drink and snacks menu from the waiter and opened it in front of Yenjika. This time he didn't introduce anything because the milk tea in the coffee shop was all right. Yenjika couldn't choose wrong one. As for the snacks, according to her taste, she didn't like chocolate and didn't like the type that was too sweet. The range of choices was naturally limited. Coincidentally, he had tried all of them and found that the quality was above standard. Hong Kong-style milk tea and chiffon cake. Yenjika thought for a while and made her choice. Lu Qing also ordered a cup of mandarin duck. Then he found a shelf, took out his phone and put it on the table to play the battle highlights of other members of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Seeing that Yenjika was watching seriously, he quietly reached out his right hand and grabbed the girl's delicate hand on her leg. He pulled her close and put her hand on his thigh. Yenjika was shocked at first, then she said with anger and amusement, Watch carefully. Sitting together to study battle videos and asking Coach Yen to teach him were all excuses. Yes, watch carefully. Lu Qing stared at the phone screen, but his 5 fingers were tightly intertwined with the girl's slender fingers. He didn't want to part with her at all. The tip of his nose faintly smelled the fragrance that tickled his heart. For a long time after that, the two of them studied videos and talked about battles. From time to time they would talk nonsense and watch funny things. Before they knew it, more than 2 hours had passed. Other than going to the washroom, their hands never left each other. Recalling the scene of Yenjika's smile just now, Lu Qing felt that this was the end of his fairy-like days. Unfortunately, happiness was always short-lived. Night would come eventually. Yenjika suddenly found that the sky outside had turned dark. She quickly turned on her phone and looked at the time. Slightly surprised, she said, It's almost 6 o'clock. Let's go back? Why don't we go back after dinner? Lu Qing had visited more than one restaurant, so he took the opportunity to make a suggestion. Yenjika looked up and said wittily, Let's go back to school. I'll treat you to the cafeteria. Okay. Lu Qing didn't insist. It was their first date, so they should know when to stop. He closed the funny video and started to book a car. Yenjika took another sip of milk tea and said with satisfaction, The milk tea in this restaurant is quite good. You can choose any random restaurant and it's so good. You're lucky today. How could it be random? Lu Qing was satisfied and said with a smile, No. Coach Yen, it's your luck. I've used my luck in other places. After saying this, he deliberately shook their intertwined hands. Yenjika blushed and spat. She turned her head and looked to the side. Back to the old campus, the two seemed to have forgotten to let go. Just like this, holding each other's hand, they walked slowly along the road full of ginkgo trees and past the quaint old teaching building. They were already immune to the stares of passers-by. After they got on the school bus and sat for a while, Lu Qing saw the bus start to move. When he was about to say something, he saw Yenjika close her eyes. Her long, black and thick eyelashes were like 2 small fans, trembling slightly. Her head was nodding. She had already fallen asleep. She had trained for 4 hours. She didn't take a nap before coming out for a date. She played until 6 in the evening. She wasn't as strong as he was, so it was inevitable that she would feel sleepy and tired. Lu Qing looked at her with pity. He held her hand tightly and used a subtle force to change the direction of her fall without waking her up. He pulled her over and let her lean on his shoulder slowly. At the same time, he adjusted his body muscles to sense the movement of the bus. Once the bumpy road was too bumpy, he applied the opposite force to Yenjika to offset it. He wanted her to sleep soundly and not slide down. Her beautiful head was on his shoulder. His nose was filled with a delicate fragrance. Her delicate skin was on his side. Beside his ear was the girl's long and thin breath. Lu Qing only felt peaceful, safe and happy. However, he also felt the weight from her and felt the pressure of wanting her to live a better life. Maybe this is what Dad said about a man's responsibility. The bus drove and arrived at the new campus. Lu Qing pushed Yenjika and laughed in a low voice. Get up quickly. We're going to be late for the martial arts special training. Yenjika's beautiful dark eyes were blank, and her expression made Lu Qing's heart tremble. Then she came back to herself and said with a blush on her pretty face, Turn your head around. Turn your head around. Don't move. Lu Qing was puzzled, but he still looked at the aisle. He heard the girl unzip her backpack, take out a tissue, and wipe the shoulders and arms of his leather jacket. I see. He blurted out. But before he could finish, he was fiercely interrupted by the girl. Haven't you seen others drooling in their sleep? Coach Yen drooling in her sleep is so cute. Lu Qing couldn't help but praise from the bottom of his heart. Yenjika snorted. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Lu Qing smiled and pulled the angry Yenjika out of the car and walked to the cafeteria. Along the way he observed the girl's reaction. If she felt uncomfortable holding hands in a campus with so many acquaintances, he would let go of her hand. But Yenjika didn't show any signs of pulling back her hand except for her face turning red. After entering the cafeteria, Yenjika took him to the food window first. She took out her meal card and said, Rice for 2 yuan and 3 yuan. The waiter looked at the two of them in surprise, as if he was observing if they were the representatives of a group of people so that he could decide how many bowls to use to get the rice. Yenjika said innocently, The guy next to me has a big belly. He eats a lot. Not counting the dishes, he eats 2 yuan of rice. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. So you've added your own food intake as well? I didn't see it. The waiter sighed. Yenjika snickered and glanced sideways at Lu Qing. She looked a little smug and cheeky. But Lu Qing only felt that she was a feast for the eyes. He just wanted to look at her and was not in the mood to eat. After a long meal, the two of them reluctantly came to the door of Yenjika's dormitory of the 3rd building. Yenjika covered her mouth and yawned. She said with a smile, I didn't take a nap. I feel so tired. Then go back to the dormitory quickly. Go to bed after washing up. Sleep when you're sleepy. Lu Qing said with concern. Yenjika nodded obediently. Then she put on a serious face and said like an old mother, Go to bed early after you go back. Don't keep studying videos. You have to strike a balance between work and rest. Don't be tired tomorrow. Do you understand? Lu Qing felt warm in his heart. He snickered and said, Got it, Coach Yen? Yenjika almost burst out laughing. She pursed her lips and waved her hand, Cheng, see you tomorrow? Lu Qing imitated her words and said seriously, See you tomorrow? Hearing that, Yenjika covered her mouth and chuckled. She turned around and walked 2 steps. Then she stopped and turned back. She smiled shyly and timidly, Cheng, I had a very good time today. Without waiting for Lu Qing's reply, she quickened her pace and entered the dormitory like a nimble white rabbit. When she was about to enter the door of the unit, she turned around and looked at Lu Qing, who was still staring blankly at her. She smiled. When Yenjika's back disappeared in the corridor, Lu Qing smiled gently and said in a low voice, I'm also very happy, 100 times happier. In a room on the 2nd floor of Hongluo Martial Arts School, the schoolmaster Wang Hui, whose white hair was tinged with silver, asked the 3 men beside him, Have you found any information about Lu Qing of Songqing University Martial Arts Club? The one with no rank. Jianghu had been practicing martial arts for many years. His appearance, which was not outstanding, had become somewhat masculine. He sat upright and said, We've checked. He's not an ordinary person. He participated in the Phoenix Cup Warrior Sage Candidate Challenge Tournament and made it to the top 8. He can defeat a professional 9th pin fighter after only half a year of practicing martial arts. It shows his talent and strength. He's not better than Lin Kei, but we can't underestimate him. Wang Hui nodded slightly and looked at the other man with a smile. Qingyun, you've met your match. Songqing is big but also small. There are only a few young people with potential. Jiang Guoxing looked over as well, looking at the young man with sharp eyes. This was the last disciple of his master, Pan Qingyun, who had just turned 20 and practiced martial arts for less than 2 years. He had already reached the level of amateur first pin. But according to the usual practice, he believed that he had already reached the level of professional ninth pin. He was just waiting for the ranking event. In this preliminaries, he was the secret weapon of his martial arts school. He would give Songqing University Martial Arts Club a surprise. A team with 3 professional ninth pin fighters was capable of competing for a place in the division. Pan Qingyun said calmly, "I've seen his competition videos. His weaknesses are as clear as his strengths. He's the kind of fighter who can defeat a professional ninth pin fighter if he performs well. But once restrained, he can even lose to an amateur first or second pin fighter. I'm sure I can beat him." Chapter 115. Hearing Pan Qingyun's words, Wang Hui nodded slightly and said, "It's good to be confident." He turned to Fang Tong as he said, "But it's not good to be too confident. You must guard against arrogance and impatience in tomorrow's match." Fang Tong's hair stood up, wantonly and flamboyant. His face was angular and full of vigor. He was the type that even a naughty kid would not dare to make a fuss. He replied with a blank face, "Yes, Grandmaster." Seeing his attitude, Wang Hui sighed quietly. This grand disciple of his was good at everything, but he was too impatient and too arrogant. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been unable to unify his martial arts. He could release but couldn't take it back. He was only one step away from the dance stage, but he hadn't made any progress for more than 3 years. He had gone from being a slightly famous genius martial artist in Songqing to being the joke of other martial arts clubs. He only hoped that Qingyun's rapid improvement could put pressure on him and reduce his arrogance and impatience. Looking around, Wang Hui said to Pan Qingyun, "Don't worry. You haven't participated in any official match for more than 3 months, and these 3 months are the period when your improvement is the fastest. Your opponent will definitely not know your details and will still regard you as an amateur first pin fighter. But you can't be careless because of this. After all, the usual practice with Guoxing and Fang Tong is different from fighting in the ring. You have to adapt and master your improved strength so that you won't be rusty." Before Pan Qingyun could answer, he said with emotion, "This is a good opportunity for our martial arts club. You have to do your best to make a name for yourself." And fame equaled money. The bigger the city, the more hidden and difficult it was for martial arts clubs to gain benefits through their inextricable connections with the underworld. Due to the attention of the public, the focus of attention, and the close supervision of the government, Songqing was much more regulated and lawless than other small cities. Many martial arts clubs did not dare to neglect their own main business. Instead, they maintained their profits and made a fortune by charging high fees from peripheral students and rich disciples. If they were not famous enough, it would be difficult to recruit people. After a long time, it was foreseeable that they would close down or take risks out of desperation. In addition, there was a very important point. Talented and excellent disciples were always in demand. If they were not famous, who would choose your martial arts club to learn martial arts? In today's society, the source of martial artists was actually 2 major selections. The first one was when they graduated from primary school and began to develop. When they were able to practice martial arts, they passed the unified test and were promoted to special martial arts schools. The rest of them went to school normally. After all, a reasonable and well-functioning society undoubtedly needed talents in all aspects. Not only martial artists but also some professions such as scientists were more important than martial artists. After this round of selection, unless one's family was rich and was willing to pay the expensive cost of practicing martial arts, most people would give up on practicing martial arts. They would treat it as a hobby and focus on other aspects. Because of this, Lu Qing, who had followed this normal path to study, had very few martial arts practitioners around him. Most of them were amateurs. Most of the special martial arts schools were established by the government. Relying on the resources and organizational ability that were better than all the martial arts clubs, they constantly created a large number of martial artists who were not inclined to any force in this way to enrich the military, police, and other violent departments. In view of this, Shangqing sect, Longhu Club, and other forces also set up their own martial arts schools to train a large number of reserve disciples. Jin Tao, the Invincible Punch, was a student of Jianghu branch of Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy. However, even though there were many martial arts schools, compared to the number of suitable martial artists, they were still a drop in the bucket. Only the best could be admitted, and there were bound to be cases of missing talents. Some people were even slow to show their talent. They could only slowly show their talent at the age of 14, 15, 17, or 18. This gave the martial arts club a chance to carry out a second round of selection. Martial arts schools were backward when it came to nurturing a large number of martial artists. However, if there were only a few dozen elite disciples, it would be like a sect's master-disciple inheritance, which was better than a martial arts school. Therefore, it had produced many famous experts, which made many young people with dreams abandon the martial arts school without hesitation after they couldn't enter a sect's martial arts society or other big forces. They threw themselves into the arms of martial arts schools. Therefore, the martial arts club, with the talented disciples as the core, even began to pay them a certain amount of salary after they had reached the level of amateur first pin to maintain their strength. Then, through advertising, preliminaries, local challenge tournaments, and other ways to make a name for themselves and attract amateurs and rich disciples. This was not only a monetary gain, but also a chance to find talents who had been buried for various reasons. It was also a way to expand one's network and get other opportunities to make money. On the surface it was martial arts, but on the inside it was a business. As a business, it would be strange if they were not interested in the preliminaries that were broadcasted by the local and surrounding TV stations. Who didn't like the advertisements that didn't pay? Humming a pop song, Lu Qing returned to the dormitory. He felt a little tipsy and only felt that everything was wonderful. He couldn't wait to let everyone be as happy as he was. He knocked on the door of the small dormitory next door and was not surprised to see that the rich second-generation Qin Mo and Mao Yuanxing, who had brought his girlfriend, were not there. Only Tang Wen, who was addicted to games, was diligent. He almost forgot the date of last semester's exam because of this. If it weren't for the people around him who reminded him, he would have definitely failed with this ridiculous reason. Of course, without doubt, he still failed 3 subjects and was preparing for the makeup exam at the beginning of the school term. "Where's Talker?" Lu Qing asked. Tang Wen, who was addicted to studying, was stunned. After thinking carefully, he said, "I think he went to the balcony to call his girlfriend." Lu Qing calmed down and vaguely heard the sound of voices on the balcony. He thanked him and closed the door so as not to disturb Tang Wen's hard work. When he was about to return to his own small dormitory, he saw the glass door of the balcony open and Kai Zongming walk in with a smile. "Damn weather, it's so cold to make a call." Little Ming exhaled a breath of white air when he closed the door. Lu Qing laughed and said, "Don't you know how to video chat in the dormitory? There are people in the dormitory. Some private words are not convenient to say, you know." Kai Zongming deliberately raised his eyebrows. "Dirty." Lu Qing scolded with a smile. "Bah, you're dirty? I'm talking about mushy words of love. What the hell are you thinking? You've been in a relationship recently, so your blood is rushing down?" Kai Zongming went all out to ridicule Lu Qing. Lu Qing clicked his tongue and said, "Are your words of love not dirty? You're an old hand." After that, he looked around and said in a low voice, "Casanova, tell me if there's a problem with what I'm doing." He briefly explained that Yanjika was not ready yet, that she accepted his confession after hesitating, that she needed some time to get used to it, and that he had tried to hold her hand successfully today. In the end he said, "Is this not showing respect to her thoughts? Is this too reckless and impatient?" Kai Zongming snorted and said, "Who asked you to confess randomly? If you follow my steps there won't be any problems. But you did a good job today. You can't follow the pace of a girl in this kind of thing. You must strike while the iron is hot." "Really?" Lu Qing put on the attitude of a serious student. Kai Zongming smiled with his hands in his pockets and said, "The current state of your goddess is like standing on a swamp, unable to resist the temptation of the world of love below. She has already accepted her fate and given up resistance. She is slowly sinking, but she hasn't adjusted her mentality yet. She wants to slow down and gradually get used to it. If you pull her too fast and let her sink too fast out of fear, uncertainty and lack of love, it will indeed cause a reverse mentality. It is very likely that she will start to hate you. But you can't do nothing and let her adjust her mentality by herself. First of all, who knows what she will think after she adjusts? Maybe it will be good or bad. Second of all, as time passes, the affective feelings will weaken. It is very likely that she will calm down and re-examine herself. At that time, if you want to increase her favorability, it will take twice the effort for half the result. She may even say, 'I don't think we are suitable for each other, let's break up.' So, you have to take advantage of the current situation and close the distance between you and her within the limit to increase her favorability. This is the meaning of strike while the iron is hot. You can't really not get close to her just because she says no. Sometimes, even she herself doesn't know whether she wants it or not." Lu Qing felt that it was better than 10 years of studying. He nodded sincerely. You are indeed the Casanova, Kai Zongming chuckled and said, accepting the confession means establishing a relationship. Establishing a relationship means holding hands. She won't be too resistant to this and is mentally prepared for it. However, don't go any further than that for the time being, lest you give her too much pressure and cause the opposite effect. Maintain the current trend of getting closer and closer step by step and slowly pull her over. Sigh, you're making this foreign dog jealous. It's a pity that you don't have time to go to the capital this semester. Lu Qing looked at little Ming sympathetically. Kai Zongming clicked his tongue and said, if I don't go, she can come. I've already succeeded in bewitching her. This time I don't need to save money. I have a lot of red packets. Awesome. Lu Qing gave him a thumbs up. By the way, are you ready for tomorrow's competition? As a member of the special training, Kai Zongming asked with concern. Lu Qing nodded and smiled. Almost. I'll think about it again later. Then I'll help you find some audience. Kai Zongming laughed and suddenly went to Lu Cheng's dormitory. He opened the door and said to Zhao Chang, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye, who were relaxing at home on the weekend, good news. Good news. Cheng is going to represent Songqing University in the competition tomorrow. Let's go cheer together. Represent Songqing University? Cheng. Zhao Chang looked back in surprise and pushed his black-rimmed glasses. Martial arts competition? Qiu Zhigao turned his head in surprise. Only Zhang Jingye looked confused and didn't seem to understand. Kai Zongming laughed. Yes, martial arts competition. Didn't Coach Shi organize a team to participate in the preliminaries? Cheng is the main force. Tomorrow we will fight against Hongluo Martial Arts School in Songqing. Because of his own arrangement, Qiu Zhigao didn't attend the first 3 martial arts classes, so he knew nothing about it. He stood up abruptly and looked at Lu Cheng behind Kai Zongming in surprise. You're the main force? Isn't this a bit unscientific? No, it's not a bit, it's too unscientific. Without Lu Cheng's explanation, Kai Zongming chuckled and said, Cheng has been recognized as a martial arts genius. Now he has the strength of a professional 9th pin. That day he fought with Lin Kei and lost only because of one move. Professional 9th pin. Qiu Zhigao gasped. As an amateur, he had a deep understanding of the difficulty of rank promotion. It took a newcomer with no rank to reach professional 9th pin in half a year. A martial arts genius? Zhao Chang looked Lu Qing up and down as if he wanted to see something. You didn't know who you were before? Well, I didn't know much about martial arts before, and Coach Shi is a man with a lot of talent. Lu Qing said casually. Zhao Chang sighed. Of course, we have to rely on ourselves, but we also have to consider the course of history. The competition is at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Are you going to cheer? Kai Zongming asked again. Of course. Why not? We are the masters in our dormitory. How awesome it is. Qiu Zhigao calmed down and said excitedly. Zhang Jingye hesitated and said hesitantly, can I bring someone else? Oh. Zhao Chang asked blankly. Kai Zongming chuckled. Model worker, I didn't expect you to have a girlfriend without anyone knowing about it. Hey, I'm almost there. Zhang Jingye smiled honestly. Damn. Zhao Chang blurted out and pointed at Zhang Jingye. I understand now. Dogs that don't bark bite. When did you find a girlfriend? Lu Qing also admired him. He spent so much effort to get Yenjika. How did Zhang Jingye get a girlfriend all of a sudden? Haha, last semester when I came back from self-study, I saw a group of students in the Academy of Arts shooting a Weibo video. I was curious and was invited to be an extra. I met one of the girls and then we became friends. Zhang Jingye described briefly. After everyone sighed, Zhao Chang said seriously, model worker, even if you have a girlfriend, you should study hard. You can't indulge in beauty. By the way, when will they shoot a Weibo video? Poof. Everyone burst into laughter and the atmosphere was quite warm. After washing up, Yenjika climbed into her small bed and leaned against the minion. She covered herself with the quilt and unlocked her phone. She smiled unconsciously and was about to reply to Lu Cheng's message on QQ when she suddenly remembered something. She opened the browser and entered the search page. Mimi bread. She entered the name of the bakery and wanted to see if the fresh cream cake was as good as Lu Cheng said. In the blink of an eye, the search result came out. Yenjika was a little surprised. Because there was no search result of Mimi bread, only related adjectives. Search on the internet. Yenjika seemed to understand something. She lifted the quilt and climbed down. She opened the fresh cream cake on the desk and tasted it. It's not too sweet, but it's just right. Yenjika sat there in a daze, twirling her hair with her left hand and shaking the spoon with her right hand. Her dimples were vaguely visible as she gazed at the cake with tenderness. Chapter 116. The next day, after the morning exercise, Lu Qing finished the meat floss bread and soy milk in the cafeteria. He was very satisfied, as if he was enjoying a bento made with love. Stepping into the martial arts arena, he looked at the scattered crowd and automatically found Yenjika's figure. The girl happened to look at him too. Their eyes met and they smiled at each other, sweet and warm. Biting her lower lip, Yenjika unbuttoned the pocket of her martial arts suit and took out her cell phone. Lowering her head, she ran her fingers through her hair and tapped on the screen quickly. Beep. A QQ message came from Lu Cheng's pocket. He took it out with a smile and unlocked it. Sure enough, it was from the girl. "The fresh cream cake is delicious," Yenjika said. "As long as you are satisfied." Lu Cheng was full of a sense of achievement. "The meat floss bread you picked is also great." Yenjika sent an emoji of a panda scratching its head. "Just that I had to brush my teeth one more time." "Why did you brush your teeth one more time?" Lu Cheng sent a confused emoji. "Yes. I'm going to put my things away." Yenjika turned off her phone, looked up and smiled. She went to the women's locker room with Guqing to lock her mobile phone and other belongings and clothes in her closet. "Yes? Did she eat too much sweets and brush her teeth one more time? Or did she eat more sweets after brushing her teeth last night? But she didn't mention this when we were chatting." Lu Cheng let his imagination run wild and stepped into the men's locker room. Because there was a competition in the afternoon, the intensity of the special training was reduced to maintain the condition. In the end, the sparring was cancelled. Geezer gathered all the members together and curled his lips. "Songqing University is so stingy. They only gave us a little subsidy. If it were a better martial arts club, they would have all kinds of sparring partners for targeted training before the competition. But for us, we can only rely on our mouths. If the members of the martial arts club were sparring partners, they would not be targeted because of their similar kung fu characteristics. It would be great if there was a superpower that could create a corresponding figure just by talking." Kai Zongming muttered softly. Lu Qing glanced at him and laughed in a low voice. "Then you would be rich. Who can compete with the talker?" "Unfortunately, the heavens didn't give me a chance." Kai Zongming sighed regretfully. Geezer coughed twice and said, "Those kids who are not the main players and substitutes of the preliminaries can leave now. Those who are willing to watch the match can wait at the bus stop at 1:30. Li Xiaowen, this is an away game, so there won't be many spectators. You don't have to organize the cheers. Just help us prepare the logistics." After Yenjika was promoted to a substitute for the preliminaries, her former cheerleading duties were handed over to her senior, Li Xiaowen. After the other members of the special training left, Geezer said, "Have you all seen the materials and videos related to Hongluo Martial Arts School? I'll explain it to you briefly and analyze the strategy. You can think about it on your own on the way." Generally speaking, for different opponents, there would be targeted training 2 or 3 days before the match. However, the specific strategy and arrangement would definitely be put in the locker room before the match. This was to prevent spies from betraying information and being controlled by others. The higher the level of the competition, the stricter the security in this aspect. Geezer didn't care about the first stage of the preliminaries at all. He also didn't think that Hongluo Martial Arts School would make a fuss about it. Therefore, he explained it in advance to give the green kids enough time to digest it. Seeing that everyone's attention was focused, he laughed and said, "Hongluo Martial Arts School is just like this. You don't have to be too nervous. Just follow my arrangement and you have a great chance of winning." You've seen from the videos that Hongluo Martial Arts School strategy is derived from the unique skill of the fire sect, called fire-like invasion. It emphasizes momentum and explosion. If they explode to the extreme, they have the power of a professional 7th or 8th Pindan stage fighter. However, this level of explosion can't be used at will. They have to adjust their situation bit by bit and receive feedback time and time again. They have to let their body gradually compress and accumulate power like a spring. Therefore, the core of this strategy is to use small explosions to promote a higher level of explosion. They accumulate power step by step until they reach the extreme. Generally speaking, after 8 explosions, the 9th attack will be an invincible attack for those below the Dan stage. However, they are still humans, not living gods. After 1 round of explosion, they will basically wither. It's like a burning flame that continues to ignite other things and becomes fiercer and fiercer. When it burns everything around it, it will extinguish itself. From this point of view, This is a strategy that is quite suitable for a life and death battle. The winner will be decided in a few moves. After analyzing up to this point, you must be thinking, then let's fight with a wandering battle and exhaust them until they are exhausted. However, for those who choose this strategy, unless they are extremely agile and are extremely good at wandering battle, when Hongluo Martial Arts School explodes a few times with terrifying speed and agility, their range of movement will be quickly reduced and they will fall into an awkward situation where they can't escape. Lu Qing nodded slightly. He had a deep understanding of this. In the battle with Yi Yaoting and the 9th pin of the Dark Sect, he had tried to fight with a wandering battle with mercurial balance. However, he was either forced to fight head-on or had no chance to fight at all. Geezer sure coughed a few times and got to the point. For this strategy, the best way to deal with it is to fight head-on. You have to disrupt their explosive rhythm and suppress their momentum so that their explosions will become more and more unsatisfactory. He explained in detail how to disrupt their rhythm and suppress their momentum. Lu Qing and the others listened with great interest. Before they knew it, it was already noon. After lunch and a short rest, Lu Qing arrived at the school bus station on time and boarded a school bus specially arranged by the logistics department. Yanjika was too shy to sit in the same row with him in front of so many acquaintances. She pulled Guqing and found a seat for themselves. Lu Qing had to sit behind them with little Ming. He didn't speak much on the way and began to adjust his state of mind and state. When they arrived, he opened his eyes. Hey, Cheng Chong and the others have good luck with women? Kai Zongming held his phone and tactfully didn't speak. Instead, he typed a line of words and sent it to Lu Qing through QQ. Lu Qing replied in surprise, "Why?" Model worker only wanted to ask his girlfriend out. However, the girls in his girlfriend's dormitory heard about it and were very interested. They also want to come and have a look. Later they will set off with Chang and Old Xiu. Kai Zongming sent the message while looking at Lu Qing with a mischievous expression. Not bad, such a good thing. Lu Qing replied quickly. He put his phone in his pocket and was ready to stand up. They had arrived at their destination. Hongluo Martial Arts School was located on the ground floor of a building. It was a quiet place amidst the bustle and the environment was quite good. Lu Qing observed the situation. When Guqing walked into the aisle, he suddenly stood up and squeezed forward. He happened to be right next to Yanjika. He looked forward as if nothing had happened, and stretched out his hand to pull the girl's delicate palm. Yanjika was surprised at first and then looked at Lu Qing. She saw a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. He turned his head and winked at her. She felt funny and angry at the same time. She blushed slightly and pretended that nothing had happened. She held his hand back and hurriedly withdrew it. She looked around and found that no one had noticed. Then she felt an indescribable sweetness. Lu Qing, who was also feeling sweet, followed the team full of strength and stepped into the gate of Hongluo Martial Arts School. The martial arts school definitely couldn't compete with Songqing University Martial Arts Club. It was only about the size of 2 lecture halls. There were also locker rooms, strength training rooms and other places. It was enough to teach students martial arts on normal days, but it was too cramped to hold preliminaries. At this moment, the bluestone floor in the center of the martial arts hall was still left as the arena. The surroundings were covered with tatami mats for the audience to sit cross-legged and watch. There were empty aisles on all sides which vaguely had a Japanese-style flavor. Fortunately, there are not many audience members. Otherwise, how can we sit? Kai Zongming clicked his tongue. He didn't have the chance to enter the locker room. He found the tatami mats for the away team, took off his shoes and sat in a kneeling position. Not far from him, Xu Rui led the team and nervously arranged the live broadcast in an orderly manner. After the schedule of preliminaries was arranged on Friday, the first thing Songqing TV station did was to determine which matches would be broadcast live and which would be recorded. For the TV stations in other cities, this wasn't worth considering because there were only 1 or 2 teams participating in the competition, and the times might not overlap. Songqing, as the provincial capital, had attracted many talents. There were more than 20 teams that had signed up for the preliminaries. Just the selection alone would dazzle the audience. In a television station of this level, competitions with lower professional ranks were actually quite popular. To the audience, although the 3 lower ranks professional martial artists were not strong enough, they appeared to be friendly and were not too inhuman. Every punch was on the flesh and it was quite intense. It could stir up the blood in their hearts. Correspondingly, the confirmation of live broadcasts and recordings naturally had to be considered carefully. Xu Rui participated in the meeting as a reporter for Songqing University Martial Arts Club. She said that Lu Qing and Lin Ke of Songqing University Martial Arts Club were both very interesting and suitable for live broadcast. In the end, the leader of the TV station accepted her idea. At this moment, seeing Lin Ke and Lu Qing come in, Xu Rui had the urge to say a few words to them. However, according to the rules, they couldn't come into contact with the fighters for half a day before the competition to avoid affecting their state of mind. They could only interview them after the competition. Lu Qing and the others went all the way to the locker room. They changed into their white martial arts suits with black edges in the cubicles and gathered around Geezer Shur again. I've said what I should say before, so there's nothing to add. Take the time to rest and restore your energy. Geezer Shur coughed and asked everyone to find a place to rest. 2:50 p.m. in the locker room of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Wang Hui glanced at Jiang Guoxing, Fang Tong and Pan Qingyun, who all had different expressions, and smiled slightly. Qingyun, you'll be the last one to come out. Give them a surprise, but maybe it won't be your turn, so we'll leave the surprise for later. Fang Tong, you'll be the vanguard. Make sure you win at the start. Guoxing, you'll be the second. If anything happens, you'll be responsible for stabilizing the situation. Yes, Master, Grandmaster. The three professional ninth pin fighters answered in unison. Wang Hui nodded with satisfaction. He pointed outside the locker room and said loudly, "Go show your strength and elegance." In the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Geezer Shur clapped his hands to wake everyone up. He smiled seriously, which was rare for him. The first battle, Lu Qing. I'll be the first. Lu Qing was not nervous. Instead, he trembled with excitement. He secretly glanced at Yanjika, only to see that she was also looking at him and making a gesture of encouragement. Geezer Shur continued, "Lu Qing, you'll be the first one to come out. Test their strength. If anything happens, Lin Ke will be behind you. Don't worry." Lin Ke watched the battle carefully and know what to do. "Sun Jian, you'll be the last one to come out. Maybe you can take advantage of their exhaustion." "Okay, let's go out." Lu Qing and the others looked at each other. No one organized and no one led them. Suddenly they opened their mouths and shouted together, "Victory!" After shouting, Lu Qing took the lead and walked out in a line. In front of them were the audience sitting on the tatami, the arranged cameras, and the enemies coming out of the locker room opposite them. P.S. I'll be updating in advance on Monday. I'll be saving my manuscripts tomorrow. Chapter 117. On Sunday afternoon, Yin Shaoling was still lying in bed, but she had changed her posture. She chose to sit back and put her laptop on her lap. Brahman, are you sure?" She glanced at the laptop, took out her phone and quickly sent a message to Brahman. Brahman said with an emoji of the biggest joke in the world. Anyway, that lush self-generating light just posted that Qidao video website has a live broadcast and bought the copyright from Songqing TV station. She even got the trailer before, so this kind of small thing shouldn't be wrong, right? So annoying. The website is so laggy and slow. It hasn't buffered yet. After hearing Brahman's words, Yin Shaoling, who had just woken up, continued to look for the live broadcast on Qidao video website. After a few minutes, she finally found the words Hongluo Martial Arts School versus Songqing University Martial Arts Club in the corner of the preliminaries subpage. There were also 2 entries for TV station commentator and website commentator. Yin Xiaoling's hand slipped and chose website commentator. After a long buffering time, she finally saw the tatami-covered ground of the martial arts school. She saw the members of Songqing University Martial Arts Club walking out in a line and kneeling separately. She saw the leader Lu Qing. The broadcasting rights of the first stage of the preliminaries were sold by the organizing committee to the TV station of each division, and the TV station took back part of the funds from the video website. The funds that flowed to the organizing committee would eventually be used to pay for the fighters' insurance, the running cost of the competition, and the broadcasting share of the quarterfinals. Because there was no registration limit, it was impossible to get a share of the profits once the competition started. That way, most of the fighters would scam the funds. Only after 7 or 8 competitions and reaching the top 8 of the division would be qualified to profit from the preliminaries. Hey, it's true. Yin Shaoling sent a message to Brahman happily. Brahman replied quickly, I saw it too. My idol is becoming more and more popular. I'm going to post the link to the Longhu Club forum and show them. The 2 girls were busy for a while. They watched the live broadcast again nervously and excitedly, waiting for the competition to start. 2 minutes before 3 o'clock, Zhao Chong, Qiu Zhigao, and Zhang Jingye finally beat the weekend traffic jam and arrived at Hongluo Martial Arts School in time. They were followed by 4 girls who looked quite studious but were all dressed quite fashionably. Looking around, Zhao Chang saw Kai Zongming and pointed at him happily. "Let's go there." The spectator seats left for the visiting team were sparse and spacious. Kai Zongming greeted them warmly and helped to arrange the seats for the girls. He secretly complained to Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao, "The aesthetic standards of art students are indeed different from us normal people. At this age, shouldn't they wear clothes that accentuate their youthfulness and their original student aura? Wasn't this dressing a little too mature? If you really want to wear it, do you think you won't have the chance in a few years?" Zhao Chang stole a few glances and smiled reservedly. "I think it's pretty good." His black-rimmed glasses shone brightly in the sunlight outside the window. Kai Zongming chuckled and didn't say much, because the competition was about to begin. After everyone was seated, the girl sitting next to Zhang Jingye tugged at his sleeve and said with a smile, "Who is the awesome roommate you were talking about?" This girl had a cute and pleasing round face. She was wearing a light pink coat that was relatively less mature. She was Zhang Jingye's prospective girlfriend, Wuxia from the Academy of Arts. Hearing her question, the other 3 girls also looked at Zhang Jingye curiously, waiting for his answer. This was the first time in their lives that they had a friend who could be broadcast live on TV. A friend of a friend of a friend. Zhang Jingye pointed at Lu Cheng, who was kneeling in the first row of the visiting team's tatami. "That, do you see? The one on the far left, the one with the spirit." Wu Qian stretched her neck and giggled. "Yes, I see. He's quite classy." The other 3 girls were about to open their mouths when they saw the referee in black walking to the center of the bluestone ground. He announced loudly, "The first match between Hongluo Martial Arts School and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Fang Tong vs. Lu Cheng." As soon as the referee announced the match, the surrounding audience burst into applause and cheers. Although there weren't many people in the audience, they were all friends and relatives, so they tried their best. "Hongluo will win, and Fang Tong will win," echoed in his ears. Lu Cheng slowly stood up and turned his head to look at Yanzhika without hiding anything. Yanzhika boldly returned his gaze. Her eyes were as clear as water, like a hidden star. Her face was flushed because of excitement, nervousness and worry. She clenched her fist and waved it. Her pink lips moved up and down as if she was mouthing cheer. With a smile on his face, Lu Cheng calmly bent down and put on his shoes. Under the unfriendly gazes of the onlookers, he walked along the aisle towards the arena at a leisurely pace. The strength in his heart gradually settled and accumulated, waiting to erupt when the battle officially began. The audience on the tatami mats was estimated to be less than 100 people. Most of them were the peripheral students of Hongluo Martial Arts School and their friends and relatives. A small number of them were the family members and friends of the participating disciples. It was definitely not comparable to the sea of people in Songqing University Martial Arts Club Stadium. But because it was close to the arena, the cheers and provocations were more impactful, as if someone was roaring next to his ear. Lu Cheng was also a martial artist who had experienced a lot, so he wasn't afraid at all. He passed through the curses, provocations and lines of defense formed by gazes and stepped into the arena made of bluestone ground. During this process he could even think of some trivial things. "I'm afraid this pair of shoes won't last long. After a few more fierce kicks they will be almost useless. The road of martial arts is really expensive." On the arena, Fang Tong was already standing on the left side of the referee. His hair stood up and his momentum was fierce, as if he would explode at any moment. He was tall, over 185 meters tall, and the simple scarlet-red martial arts suit made him look like a slim-fit suit. 3 minutes. The referee looked at his watch and took a step back. Fang Tong stared at Lu Cheng and smiled contemptuously. "You're very proud, aren't you? It only took you half a year to grow from a novice with no rank to a fighter of professional ninth pin. You do have the right to be proud. But I like to fight with so-called geniuses like you the most. I like to see you flustered under my attacks. I like to see your futile struggle. I like to see your eyes doubting life after a crushing defeat. I like to see your cowering face in front of me. Do you know there was once an 18-year-old ninth pin genius fighter who was beaten by me until he cried. He cried. Hey, if you want to cry later, just cry. Don't hold it back. Go back and find your mom to comfort you." Lu Cheng listened quietly. A line of introduction on the information flashed in his mind. Fang Tong, good at trash talking, good at provocation. He closed his eyes and confirmed his fighting style one last time. Once he stepped into the arena, he would go all out and fight like a life-and-death battle. He would not consider holding back any trump cards. But he did not have enough life-and-death experience. He could only use this as a reference. With this thought, Lu Qing recalled the details of his fight with the Dark Sect ninth pin. A whip kick to the temple, squeezing out 2 bloody eyeballs. A rocket-like cannon, bursting his genitals, blood and urine all over the ground. A secret technique of spirit and aura, directly attacking the mind, shaking the soul. Compared to the fear caused by the Dark Sect ninth pin, Fang Tong's trash talk was like a child scolding. Gradually, Lu Qing ignored Fang Tong's trash talk. He only felt that there seemed to be a croaking sound coming from a distant place. It could not affect his memory at all. Using the secret technique of spirit and aura to create rigidity. Fear caused by the poisonous needle force. Forced to open his stance. Prepared, biting the tip of the tongue. Mercurial balance, dodging in time. Deafening sound skill, killing move again. 1-inch punch, supernatural ability of flame, taking advantage of opportunity. Scenes flashed in his mind. Finally, it stopped at the scene of the Dark Sect ninth pin bleeding from the 7 orifices. The light in his eyes faded quickly, leaving behind a trace of unwillingness. The scene froze. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at Fang Tong with eyes as cold as ice. What's the use of training for a kid like you who hasn't been weaned yet? Really? Fang Tong was talking enthusiastically when he was suddenly stunned by such a weak look. He did not know why, but there was a slight chill in the bottom of his heart. For a moment he was speechless. Begin. At this moment the referee waved his right hand. Fang Tong took a deep breath. His calf and thigh muscles swelled, making the corners of his martial arts pants stand out. The clothes on his upper body twitched, revealing his muscles one after another. Invading like fire, erupting like fire. Bam. He quickly approached and took a step forward punch. He poured all his strength into his right arm. The wind stirred, his bulging muscles pulled the skin and punched at Lu Qing fiercely. If an ordinary person was hit by such a punch, even if they did not die, they would be seriously injured. Lu Qing lowered his waist and sat down. Lightning flashed in his mind and the snow mountain collapsed. The rolling force surged to the soles of his feet, mighty and unstoppable. He put his right foot horizontally and exerted force on the ground in a half-twisting posture. Suddenly he felt a rebound attack. A slightly spiral force flowed from his foot to his leg, from his leg to his waist, and from his waist to his spine. With this as the axis, all the force in the flow was directed to his right arm. His right arm seemed to swell and his skin seemed to be pulled open. Lu Qing clenched his fist and hammered down to block Fang Tong's attacking hand. When the two were about to touch, his joints changed and his muscles and bones stretched, sending out a short but vigorous 1-inch punch. Bam! A layer of flame rose and covered Lu Qing's hand. Then it collided with Fang Tong's fist. The supernatural ability of fire versus burning force. Bang! With a muffled sound, Lu Qing felt like his right hand was burning. But he had expected it. He took advantage of the momentum and swung his right arm back, bringing a reverse momentum. Fang Tong's expression changed slightly. He instinctively swung his right arm to get rid of the burning sensation. His chest and abdomen were immediately opened. At the tatami of the home team, Wang Hui, Jiang Guoxing, and Pan Qingyun changed their expressions immediately. Lu Qing was not going to show mercy. He twisted his waist and tightened his thighs. With the help of the stomping force of his right foot and the backward momentum of his right arm, his left leg suddenly tightened like a soft whip. He ferociously and violently kicked between Fang Tong's legs. But he was still in a charging posture. Fang Tong's eyes showed panic. In his mind he visualized the scene of a burning body. His buttocks were involuntarily clenched and his muscles exerted force on his tailbone. Then he bounced his back and hooked his legs to pounce to the side. Burning body going up the roof. With just a pounce, Fang Tong pulled a few meters away from Lu Qing and avoided the deadly whip kick. But Lu Qing was not in a hurry. After the whip kick missed, he immediately lowered his leg and adjusted his muscles. He stepped heavily on the bluestone ground and directed the mega avalanche and lightning and fire stance in his mind to the soles of his feet. Bam! As if the ground was hit, Lu Qing bounced up and pounced on Fang Tong's side. His speed was not slow at all. The bluestone where he originally stood had a shallow mark on it. One in front and one behind, they were like two eagles chasing each other. Fang Tong regained his footing and used the force to bounce back. Lu Qing had already arrived. He turned his body sideways, lowered his shoulders, bulged his muscles and rammed forward with all his strength. It was as if an avalanche was about to happen. Fang Tong had no strength to dodge and could only hurriedly raise his arms in front of his body to block. Bam! Fang Tong's arms were in pain and pressed to his chest. Fang Tong flew out of the ring and fell in front of the tatami mats, almost knocking over several spectators. Lu Qing threw Fang Tong into the air. The referee nodded slightly and appreciated Lu Qing's mercy at the end. Otherwise he would have to stop it to avoid causing casualties. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Qing wins." Lu Qing won in a few breaths. The whole martial arts club and the home team were silent. Yan Shaoling was looking at the screen with annoyance because the signal was interrupted. After more than 10 seconds the signal was restored. She saw the collision between the two and heard the commentator's voice, "Welcome to the next round. The match has just started and there is no delay." As I introduced during the conversation, Fang Tong in the red martial arts suit is one of the top young masters in Songqing. He has reached professional 9th pin more than 3 years ago. He lost. I just started the commentary. P.S. Please recommend me. Chapter 118. Yan Shaoling was as confused as the commentator. Not long after the signal was restored, she saw Fang Tong running away in a hurry and Lu Qing running after him. Before she could figure out what had happened, she had to face the final result. The result was certainly gratifying, but the confusing and short process made her somewhat unable to believe that it was real. She deeply suspected that after the signal was cut off, someone had faked the live broadcast and hired 2 actors who looked somewhat similar to each other to fake the fight, just like an old gambling movie she had watched before. The commentator was silent for a moment and finally recovered. "Hello everyone, I'm Wang Peng. Welcome to the first live broadcast of this year's preliminaries of Songqing Division. The first match just ended. Fang Tong from Hongluo Martial Arts School versus Lu Qing from Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Both sides fought fiercely, and the winner was decided within a few moves. This made me very confused and I believe that everyone is the same. Now let's review the fight just now and figure out what happened." The scene changed and the replay started. Yan Shaoling opened her mouth slightly and stared at the screen like a child. In less than 10 seconds she suddenly exclaimed, "Fire!" While the exclamation was still echoing, she, who had been influenced by the internet for a long time, had already understood. She let out a burst of forthright laughter and said to herself in surprise and delight, "Lu Qing has supernatural power. He has never used it before. He hit it so well. Ah, I like it." She picked up her phone and sent a voice message to Brahman. "Brahman, did you see it? Lu Qing is so handsome, so handsome." Brahman also replied with an excited voice message, I saw it. So handsome. I never thought he had supernatural power. He is indeed a hidden and mysterious master. Get out of the way, I'm going to be infatuated." After a burst of crisp laughter, she said dreamily, "Lu Qing has the power of flame and his martial arts are so good. He has so much potential. In the future he might really become a famous martial artist. When that time comes, when I ask for his autograph, I can proudly say that I was his earliest fangirl. I'll watch you become stronger little by little." Yan Shaoling covered her chest and said, "My heart is bleeding. You stole the title of the first fan." Brahman laughed and said, "How is that stealing? Obviously it is. Also, the way you addressed me just now was too rude. Call me father." The 2 girls laughed and joked for a while. Brahman was excited. While waiting for the second battle, she opened the forum of Longhu Club to see what her friends had to say. From the moment the results came out, no one replied for a full minute. Immediately after that, a large number of posts appeared in the next 10 to 20 seconds. Unparalleled Dragon King said with a Nike mouth emoji, "I finally understand why he burst out in the end when he was fighting Yi Yaoting. He has awakened the power of Blaze." Road to the Arena added, "I didn't lose unjustly. Not to mention the Flame Arcana at the beginning, just looking at how he grasped the opportunity and how calm he was, and looking at the last 2 or 3 exchanges, I have a feeling that if I were to fight with him again without a referee I would die." Invincible Punch Jin Tao also replied with a complicated tone, "Every time I watch his match I feel that the gap between us is widening. Before I still had the motivation to catch up, but now I can only be myself." "Beautiful world," comforted Jin Tao. "Don't be sad, little fist. As long as you can reach professional 9th pin this year and get better martial arts from Haiyuan Martial Arts Academy, you will still be an outstanding young fighter. Don't compare yourself with this kind of cheating guy. Some people are really blessed by God. Although she still didn't like Lu Cheng, she had to admit that Lu Cheng's speed of improvement was so amazing that she didn't even have the courage to slander him. Outspoken said, "Didn't he win this match with his supernatural ability? Why are you boasting so much? Let's see how he can win when Hongluo Martial Arts School is prepared." Fancy Leg Shaking King said smilingly, "A young martial artist with great potential who also has the power of fire. He's a perfect match for our Longhu club, okay? The unique skills of the fire sect of Taoism and the power of blaze are perfect. Who knows, maybe Lu Cheng will join our club in the future." Brahman looked at the replies that were either sincerely convinced or still jealous. She was in a very good mood and didn't respond to them. She only liked the comment about the king of fancy leg shaking and sent a plus 10,086, imagining the scene of her new idol joining her favorite martial arts force. How wonderful that would be. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, more than 100 spectators were unusually depressed and couldn't speak for a while. It was like someone suddenly slapped them from behind while they were having a good time peeing, so they had to force it back. To be honest, they were mentally prepared for the possibility of Fang Tong losing the match. Since Fang Tong was chosen by Songqing TV station for the live broadcast, at least the gap between the strength of the two sides would not be too big. Moreover, Lu Cheng's meteoric rise had long been known through information and word of mouth. They felt that it was not particularly strange for such a genius fighter who had defeated a professional ninth pin master to win against Fang Tong. At most, they would feel depressed for a while. But what they didn't expect was that Lu Cheng would win so quickly and violently. During this process, they had just organized themselves to cheer for Fang Tong for the first time when they were interrupted by Lu Cheng's sudden use of the power of blaze. They stopped abruptly, nervously and worriedly paying attention to the subsequent developments. When Fang Tong dodged with the burning body, they regained their expectations and tried to cheer for Fang Tong again. However, Lu Cheng closed the distance without missing a beat and ended the battle cleanly. How could they not feel depressed when they were interrupted twice in a row and the professional expert they had high hopes for was defeated again? How could they say anything? Yanjika sat elegantly like an ancient lady. But at this time she unconsciously held her pink cheek with her left hand and slightly tilted her head, looking at Lu Cheng who was standing on the stage. She wasn't surprised at the result of the quick victory. Not only because she had known about the existence of the power of blaze, but also because after Lu Cheng's mental injury had completely recovered, she had curiously asked him about the details of the battle between him and the ninth pin of the dark sect. She had a deep impression of that thrilling battle. This time, Lu Cheng had learned his lesson and went all out from the beginning without holding back. His opponent didn't expect this, so the result was obvious. But after the opportunity created by the power of blaze, she was delighted by Lu Cheng's performance of handling a difficult situation with ease and calmness. Having an opportunity didn't mean that he would definitely win. His opponent also didn't lack trump cards. Just like the ninth pin of the dark sect, he had created an absolute advantage with his secret skill of spiritual momentum and poisonous needle force. But he couldn't grasp the situation and died on the spot. But just now, after the successful strike, Lu Cheng had completely extinguished Fang Tong's hope with a calmness and ruthlessness that were beyond his age. With a precise grasp of the changes in the battle situation and a posture that made his opponent despair, he had made all his struggles disappear. While Yanjika's imagination was running wild, she suddenly saw Lu Cheng turn around and look at her from afar. His eyes were smiling and his mouth was opening and closing, mouthing the words. Although she didn't understand lip language, she suddenly had a feeling of telepathy and understood what Lu Cheng was saying. He said, "Thank you, Coach Yan." "Still that silly Cheng?" Yanjika couldn't help but smile. Her teeth were slightly opened and her cheeks were pink. On the arena, Lu Cheng was dazzled. He didn't expect that the delicate and quick-witted Yanjika, who wasn't even 19 years old, could smile so charmingly just now. There was no need to look back. The interaction between the two was almost unnoticed by the shocked audience, except for one exception. Gizershir's mouth twitched and he said, "Coach Yan? Don't you know that this old man can read lips? You little bastard, you value your girl over your teacher. If I hadn't been like this in the past, I would have thrown you out now." While he was cursing in his heart, Li Mao and Sun Jian beside him looked at each other with a complicated smile. He even has the supernatural ability of flame. This kind of junior brother is really despairing. The two opened their mouths at the same time, but they said different things which made Qin Zhanghua, who was sitting behind them, smile bitterly and say to himself, "Junior brothers nowadays are more terrible than the previous one. The new generation overtakes the old, and the old should die on the beach. Lin Ke was still expressionless, but his eyes flashed slightly. Guqing, who was on his right, said, "This Qing is really good at hiding. When did he get the supernatural ability?" After exclaiming a few words, Guqing turned to Yanjika beside her and joked, "Ku, are you moved? Qing was so cool and mighty just now." Before she could finish her words, she saw Yanjika blushing and looking at the ring with her bright and gentle eyes. Startled, she lowered her voice and said in Mandarin, "Don't tell me you've really fallen for him? I was just kidding. Boys like Qing can't accept it easily. He's too good at hiding and lying. He suddenly became so powerful, and suddenly he has the supernatural ability of flame." "I know this." Yanjika interrupted her in a low voice. "Know what? That he's a liar? Or that he has the supernatural ability of flame?" Guqing asked in astonishment. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. "He doesn't hide anything from me." Guqing was stunned and looked Yanjika up and down. She suddenly realized, You're not dating, are you?" Yanjika lowered her head and blushed from her cheeks to her ears. "Yes." Behind the spectator seats of the away team, Xu Rui was shocked and excited. She couldn't wait to jump on the stage and give Lu Qing another interview. No wonder he's the fighter I chose. He's really a hot topic. Sooner or later I'll rely on him to make big news. Although Kai Zhongming knew Lu Qing had the supernatural ability of flame, he didn't expect him to win Fang Tong so quickly and so easily. He was a little stunned and murmured, "Spring is coming and everything is coming back to life. It's mating season for animals on the prairie. Lu Qing is especially aggressive in his mating season. Don't get close to him." Wu Qian and the other girls chuckled and looked at Lu Qing with curiosity and admiration. "So handsome. He's really a master. Hee, do you like him? How about asking Wu Qian to get you a contact number?" While whispering, Wu Qian pulled Zhang Jingye with a smile. "Does your classmate have a girlfriend?" Zhang Jingye thought for a while and said, "Probably not, but he has a target." During the get-together, the boys all saw that Lu Qing was interested in Yanjika. Wu Qian and others gossiped. Zhang Jingye pointed at Yanjika. "That girl?" The girls stared at him and were suddenly speechless. After a long time they said, "What a beautiful girl." Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao didn't join their discussion. They looked at each other and were surprised by Lu Qing's charm in the arena. Although Lu Qing had undergone a lot of changes in the past semester, as a roommate who saw him every day, he was relatively slow to notice. It wasn't until now that he realized that his inconspicuous and ordinary roommate actually had the demeanor of a master. Looking at Fang Tong, who came back dejectedly and unwillingly, Wang Hui swallowed his comforting words and said with a straight face, "Do you think that the other party relied on the element of surprise to defeat you so easily?" "No." Fang Tong answered sullenly, but the expression on his face was contrary to his words. Wang Hui snorted and said, "What he showed later was not simple. He should have had the experience of a life-and-death battle." "A life-and-death battle?" Jiang Guoxing and Pan Qingyun asked at the same time. Fang Tong also raised his head. "Yes, once they fight they will not hold back. They will be fierce and the winner will be decided in a few moves." Wang Hui closed his eyes and said, "If he is still alive after a life-and-death battle, it can only mean one thing. His opponent is dead, killed by him." Jiang Guoxing was startled when he heard this. It wasn't that he had never fought on the streets before, but he had always helped his friends bully martial artists who were weaker than him. Even though he had seen blood, it was useless. Facing a martial artist who had survived a life-and-death struggle, his courage immediately weakened. What kind of life-and-death battle was it? He didn't have other troubles? Or was he seriously injured? Or was there another master who stopped him in time? Seeing Fang Tong withdraw his unwillingness and anger, Wang Hui laughed and said, "But you don't have to be afraid. According to my observation, his supernatural ability of flame is very weak, and his strength is much lower than Guoxing's. Guoxing, once you are prepared, you will have no problem defeating him. And I don't have to worry about one thing anymore. His last burst of strength when he fought with Yi Yaoting was not a unique skill, but a talent awakening. It will be hard to have a second chance." Jiang Guoxing gradually calmed down and regained his confidence. Pan Qingyun and Fang Tong nodded slightly and walked out of their emotions. At this time, the referee waved to the people of Hongluo Martial Arts School and asked them to send the second fighter to the ring as soon as possible. Although the interval between each match was deliberately longer during the live broadcast to give the TV station or video website a chance to comment, introduce and interact, the interval would not be too long, so that the fighters who won the previous match could have more rest than they should have. For Lu Qing it didn't matter. Wang Hui nodded and said to Jiang Guoxing, "Go, take him down." Jiang Guoxing narrowed his eyes and walked steadily to the ring. Chapter 119. Jiang Guoxing's physique was robust, and his back was straight as he slowly walked over. Not only did he show his steadiness, but he also displayed the manly spirit of a martial artist. He controlled his speed and every step he took was rhythmic. It was like he was beating a drum again and again, exploding with each step, pushing his aura to its peak. Fire-like invasion, momentum first. In the face of Jiang Guoxing's constant pressure, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was at ease. They were not worried or nervous at all. For them, Lu Qing's quick victory over Jiang Guoxing had already fulfilled his responsibility as the vanguard. Next, they just needed to exhaust Jiang Guoxing's strength a few more times to make him lose in the following matches. Then, they would be able to clinch victory. As for whether Lu Qing could exhaust Jiang Guoxing a few more outbursts, it was needless to ask. From the strength he showed just now, from the fact that he didn't exhaust much, and from the fact that he had reached the level of professional ninth pin in half a year, they could get a definite answer. Among them, only Yanjika, who was used to seeing Lu Qing create miracles again and again, was vaguely expecting something. Only Wu Qian, Zhao Chang and other students who didn't know much about Lu Qing's strength were still cheering and longing for a second victory. With Jiang Guoxing's appearance, the peripheral students and non-core disciples of Hongluo Martial Arts School unconsciously dispersed their depression and calmed down. They were quite confident that senior brother Jiang could defeat his opponent. What was there to be afraid of after only one loss? Over the past few years, as Wang Hui grew older, the time for him to personally teach his disciples and students had become less and less. Most of the time, it was Jiang Guoxing who acted as his teacher to teach his disciples, guide their practice and demonstrate their fighting styles. He had become the de facto leader of the Hongluo Martial Arts School, and held a very high position in everyone's hearts. The only thing they needed to worry and pray was how many outbursts he could use to defeat Lu Qing. If they fought until 7 or 8 outbursts, it would be equal to a lose-lose situation. Then how could they fight against the opponent's main fighter Lin Ke? Even if there were only 5 or 6 outbursts, the consumption would be great and the follow-up would be very unsettling. I hope senior brother Jiang can defeat Lu Qing within 5 outbursts and show the power of our martial arts school and let the audience know Hongluo again. Lu Qing smiled and turned the warmth and sweetness with Yanjika into his desire to win. He felt that he was full of thirst for the word win. Martial artists should challenge their limits. Even in the face of a strong enemy, they couldn't easily admit defeat. He closed his eyes, condensed water into ice, suppressed his desire and waited for an explosion. He did not look at Jiang Guoxing's accumulated momentum. In the end he recalled the predetermined fighting style. Once Jiang Guoxing got close to him, he would immediately counterattack and disrupt his explosive rhythm. Then he would use 24 blizzard strikes to suppress Jiang Guoxing with 24 blizzard strikes. The strategy was very simple, but in the ever-changing arena, the simpler the strategy, the more effective it was. At this time Jiang Guoxing stood on the other side of the referee. His aura was extremely strong, like a flame that was about to set the prairie ablaze. His eyes were sharp as he stared at his opponent, who still had a little bit of a student's aura left in him. As if he could sense it, Lu Qing slowly opened his eyes the moment he looked over. His eyes were as deep as a pool and as calm as ice, as if they could extinguish all flames. Their gazes collided. One had been a rank 9 for many years and had rich experience in the arena. The other was a rising star who had fought life and death battles before. There was no flicker or flinching in their gazes. They fought to a draw. The referee did not wait any longer. He raised his right hand and swung it down heavily. Second round, begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Guoxing's temples bulged. The muscles of his thighs and calves suddenly swelled and pushed up his trousers. He drove his body and pounced on Lu Qing like a spreading fire. Lu Qing maintained his mercurial state. He bounced his back and swung his center of gravity. He suddenly dodged to the side. Like a ghost, he was a few meters away in a flash. Jiang Guoxing wasn't surprised. He was prepared for this. His spine suddenly wriggled like an earth dragon, and he changed the direction of his body. He was faster and fiercer than Lu Qing. He chased after Lu Qing like a wolf and was about to catch up. He wasn't afraid of Lu Qing's strange change of direction. This was a professional ninth pin fighter who could release and withdraw at will. Like Lin Ke, he was only one step away from the dance stage. But Lu Qing seemed to be waiting for such a scene. He suddenly lowered his center of gravity. In his mind, lightning fell from the sky and snow collapsed. The rolling hot flow rushed to his thighs and soles. With a stomp of his feet, the violent force bounced back. Taking advantage of the momentum, he turned around and pulled back his two hands. Like a cannon, he launched an attack at the rapidly approaching Jianghu. The ferocity of the counterattack, the speed of the attack, and the viciousness of the power, not only did it tear apart the sound of the wind and bring about a buzzing sound, it also caused the hundreds of spectators in the home arena to let out worried cries. Jianghu did not panic. He tightened his hips and clamped his tailbone, igniting the fire in exchange for an explosive response. He didn't dodge. Instead, he used this opportunity to push the strength he had just accumulated. His muscles bulged and he seemed to have expanded a little. He bounced his back and directed all the flames to his right hand. Then he blocked Lu Qing's attack with a hammer strike. One hammer for two punches. Bam! The two collided for the first time. The dull and blood-boiling sound echoed in the surroundings. Lu Qing used his hearing skill to withdraw his fists. He quickly adjusted his muscles and changed his center of gravity. He tightened his thighs and used the force to attack again. Bam! Lu Qing's leg whip was more ferocious than the previous two punches. He used the shortest way and the fastest speed to disrupt Jianghu's explosive rhythm. 24 blizzard strikes, endless wind and endless blizzard. Jianghu was going to adjust his body and combine the feedback and counter-pressure from earlier with the corresponding visualization to push for the second explosion. However, the image of the spreading flames appeared in his mind, and before his muscles could expand, Lu Qing's whip kick was already coming at him. He had no choice but to hastily transfer half of the strength of the explosion to his right leg. He tightened his toes and kicked at his opponent. Bam! When the two collided, Lu Qing took the opportunity to withdraw his leg. He used the force to lean back slightly like a slingshot and was about to launch a heart-drilling blast punch. At this moment he saw Jianghu take a deep breath. Instead of attacking, he withdrew his right hand to his chest. His spirit, momentum, and blood seemed to have disappeared. No, it was restrained. An electric light flashed in Lu Qing's mind. The video of Hongluo Martial Arts School and Yanjika's words appeared in his mind. This was another killing move of Hongluo Martial Arts School. It was extremely fierce and terrifying after compressing the whole body's strength to a certain extent. Without the feeling of withdraw in Dan's stage, it was difficult to exert its power. However, once it was used, it was definitely not something a normal professional ninth pin fighter could resist. When the pressure reached the extreme, the rebound would also reach the extreme. Starburst, prairie fire. Lu Qing made a decision in an instant. He took a deep breath, adjusted his muscles, changed his center of gravity, and put his arms in a horizontal stance. When Lu Qing finished his stance, Jianghu suddenly expanded. He seemed to have grown taller and his momentum became extremely fierce. His temples were obviously bulging. He pushed his feet inwards and pulled out his right hand, which was in front of his chest. It was as fast as thunder, tearing the air. Bam! When the pull hit Lu Qing's arms, he felt an unstoppable majestic force. He felt a burning pain and a piercing pain at the places of contact. It seemed that his stance was about to be broken. Fortunately, he was prepared. He didn't expect to take it head-on. He tightened his waist and back, twisted his body, and exerted force on his feet. With the help of this majestic force, he actually broke his stance and jumped back. He flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Normally, when beaten like this, he would be in a precarious situation. However, Lu Qing took the initiative and kept his center of gravity. There was a move in Tai Chi, which was to take a step back after blocking the opponent's attack to neutralize the force. Lu Qing was using the extreme application of Tai Chi without strong control of the body and absolute confidence in the adjustment of the center of gravity. It would be suicidal. While flying backward, Lu Qing turned around with his back facing Jianghu. Under the pressure of the majestic force, he continued to move forward. He didn't mess up his footwork like an agile eagle. Jianghu didn't show any mercy. He exerted force on his feet and quickly approached, trying to copy the scene of Lu Qing winning the last blow at the same time. At this moment, Lu Qing, who had spent most of the force, borrowed the remaining force and used the adjustment of his muscles to direct it to his legs. Dong! His heavy footsteps seemed to shake the ground slightly. Taking advantage of the momentum, he twisted his waist and took a step forward. His muscles bulged and his skin tightened. With both his feet, he struck out with a mountain blast punch. Once again, he fiercely counterattacked. Jianghu stopped as soon as he said so, like a heavy truck that had braked suddenly. However, he immediately rushed up again, pouring the accumulated strength into his legs. He stomped his feet, and with the help of the violent rebound, he pulled his right shoulder and lashed out with his whip. Even if it was a stone millstone in front of him, he would still crack it. Bam! The blast punch blocked the whip and made a dull sound. Both of them were stagnant at the same time. This caused the surrounding cheers to temporarily disappear. The audience watching the live broadcast and the live broadcast were immediately stunned, and their heartstrings tightened. Pah, pah, pah. The martial arts shoes on their feet cracked one after another. The footprints and cracks on the floor were exposed. After a moment of absolute silence, the audience burst into loud applause. No matter which side the supporters were from, they were all excited by the collision of pure physical strength. Xu Rui clenched her fists and her eyes flashed. She secretly breathed a sigh of relief. With such a battle, there would be no problem with the live broadcast. She who made the suggestion wouldn't be the scapegoat. Chapter 120. Pan Qingyun had straightened his back and stared at the ring. His expression was unprecedentedly serious, and his eyes were more focused than ever. It seemed that Lu Qing was probably more powerful than he had expected. It had been more than 20 days since the end of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Lu Qing had reached the level of professional 9th pin in only 4 months. He had enough time to make another breakthrough. Since he could reach the level of professional 9th pin from amateur 1st pin in 3 months, why couldn't such a genius do more in 1 month? Moreover, he seemed to have experienced a lot of life and death battles. His momentum was not inferior to that of his fellow apprentices who made a living in this aspect. At this moment, Lu Qing still had shortcomings in strength and speed, but the gap between him and the professional 9th pin had been greatly shortened. Plus, his control of his body, understanding of the technique of exerting force, and the proportion of power transferred between his punches and kicks and the degree of explosion were higher. These were enough to fill up the small gap. In other words, Lu Qing had reached the standard of a professional 9th pin in all aspects except for his physical fitness. He had even surpassed this level in the fields of coordination, listening skill and meditation. All in all, although he was not invincible among the professional 9th pin fighters, he was strong enough to fight with any of the professional 9th pin fighters. And this was excluding the fact that his power of blaze was not strong enough at present. Unconsciously, Pan Qingyun regarded Lu Qing as a young fighter who was more talented than himself. And he took it for granted. His attitude changed 180 degrees from the contempt at the beginning to a little bit too much. He has no rank yet. It is very likely that he will participate in the ranking event of professional 9th pin at the end of April. At that time, if there are only 1 or 2 applicants, it will be a narrow road. No matter how calm Pan Qingyun was, he still felt a headache. He was only officially recognized as an amateur 1st pin, and also had to participate in the ranking event at the end of April. Jianghu saw that Lu Qing's shoes were cracked, but his figure was still standing in the ring as if he was invincible. She felt funny and distressed at the same time. She also felt that this figure seemed to be able to withstand all the wind and rain and bear all the responsibilities. I haven't given him a gift yet. She suddenly thought of this, feeling shy and sweet at the same time. In the arena, Lu Qing, whose martial arts shoes were finally broken, felt unbearable soreness in his arms, as if he had been hit thousands of times. If he hadn't jumped back and neutralized his force when Jianghu used his killer move, Star Burst, his stance would have been broken and he would have lost on the spot. His arms and hands might not be able to support themselves anymore. In the following collision, his bones would either be broken or fractured. He had no way to defeat Jianghu in terms of strength. However, in a competition, pure strength was only the main factor that influenced the outcome. It wasn't the only factor. In this situation, the brave one won't win. He forced himself to take a deep breath and did not make any adjustments. Using the desperation of a life and death battle, he took a step forward. He exerted strength in his feet and tightened his thighs. With a snap, he pulled out his right leg that was dragging behind him and kicked straight between Jianghu legs. Geezer Shi, who was sitting in a daze, slightly adjusted his posture when he saw this. He laughed in a low voice and said, "You're quite sharp." Wang Hui from Hongluo Martial Arts School frowned and muttered to himself, "If it's Fang Tong." While Jianghu was taking a breather and preparing for the 4th explosion, he saw Lu Qing take a step forward and pull back his leg. Instead of retreating, Lu Qing rushed forward, showing an aura of either Jianghu's death or Lu Qing's. Jiang Guoxing panicked and channeled the strength he had just accumulated into his right leg. He straightened it and waved it like a soft whip, whistling towards Lu Cheng. Bang! Without shoes, the two legs collided in midair and then retracted. Lu Cheng quickly tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and bounced his back. He immediately shifted his position and flashed to Jiang Guoxing's side. Lowering his waist, he raised his right hand and ferociously chopped downwards towards his opponent's temple. His master said that if he wanted to disrupt the opponent's explosive rhythm, he should not be foolishly facing it head-on. Instead, he should use his own characteristics to mobilize the opponent and force him into an unsuitable posture and position to fight him head-on. Because he hadn't recovered yet, he couldn't mobilize enough strength, so he could only attack the opponent's vital points. Every move was a steal, every move was dangerous. You've got some understanding? Geezer sure nodded with satisfaction. Jiang Guoxing took a deep breath, straightened his shoulders and raised his left arm, blocking the punch right beside his head. As soon as the two came into contact, his muscles suddenly expanded. Using his back as a whip and his left arm as a guide, he made a ferocious swing, making Lu Cheng feel like he was pushed hard. He lost his center of gravity and was about to stumble to the side. The fifth explosion of fire-like invasion. The moment he lost his center of gravity, Lu Cheng clearly knew that even if he quickly recovered his footwork, what awaited him was Jiang Guoxing's sixth explosion. The rhythm of the battle fell into his hands and there was no chance for him to win. At the critical moment, as he stumbled away, he snapped his fingers with his right hand that was next to his opponent's temple. A flame came out and burned a few strands of Jiang Guoxing's hair. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Cheng took 3 steps back and quickly adjusted his body to regain his center of gravity. Jiang Guoxing felt a burning pain in his head. He was afraid that his hair would burn his head, so he hurriedly swatted it back and didn't chase after him immediately. Seeing this, Lu Cheng had an idea. He took a deep breath and rushed forward crazily to Jiang Guoxing, who had just caught up with him. In a flash, he closed the distance between them. He stepped forward with his right foot, shook his shoulder, and threw a blast punch at Jiang Guoxing's lower abdomen. Jiang Guoxing didn't expect his opponent to be so tough. He had to use the 6th explosion in advance. His 2 hands quickly reached down and accurately pressed Lu Cheng's blast punch like an osprey landing. Seeing this, Wang Hui, the master of Hongluo martial arts school, couldn't help but sigh. He thought that it was a good thing that his disciple had become more prudent as he grew older and had a chance to break through to the Dan stage. But now it seemed that there were pros and cons. If he didn't force him into a corner, he wouldn't dare to take risks and risk his life. If it were Fang Tong, he wouldn't have taken a breather. He wouldn't have cared whether his hair was lit or not. When you create an opportunity, you have to seize it regardless of your own safety. This is the true essence of fire-like invasion. Compared to Lu Cheng, the difference between Jiang Guoxing and Lu Cheng was not only that Jiang Guoxing did not have the experience of a life-and-death battle, which could be made up for by his rich experience in arena battles, but also that he was no longer as hot-blooded and courageous as he was when he was young. Originally, a person without hot-blooded and courageous courage would have their own routines and advantages, but the fighting style of Hongluo martial arts school was called fire-like invasion, and the contradiction between the two was his biggest problem. Today it would depend on whether or not his strength could solve this problem. Bang! Lu Cheng's blast punch was just stopped by Jiang Guoxing. He shook his right arm and flicked his wrist, slipping out from between Jiang Guoxing's hands. He drew a small arc and grabbed the enemy's wrist. Big and small hand wrap. Jiang Guoxing wasn't someone to be trifled with. He gathered his strength and swatted with his palm as if he was swatting a mosquito. At this moment, Lu Cheng, who had been forcefully raising his qi, finally reached a certain limit. He urgently needed to exhale the turbid qi in his lungs. His right hand cleverly dodged the slap. Just as he was about to exhale the foul air, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He remembered a live broadcast he had watched before. At a critical moment, the Dragon King's body was restrained and he was about to be thrown to the ground. While he was face to face with his opponent, he suddenly spat out fire from his mouth and burned his opponent's face. The idea turned into an idea. Lu Cheng used the Jindan to sense the inside of his body and made some adjustments. Then he opened his mouth and with the momentum of the brutal blizzard in his mind, exhaled and shouted, "Ha!" An arrow of turbid qi hit Jiang Guoxing's face. Although it wasn't really harmful, it made his eyes ache. He was so scared that he quickly closed them. Now is the time. Seizing the opportunity, Lu Cheng finally took out Jiang Guoxing's left wrist. Like holding a black snake, he swung it fiercely. Bam bam bam. Jianghu instinctively resisted with all his strength. However, a few of his joints were shaken open. His muscles were also damaged. His left arm was temporarily disabled. He let out a roar. Forced into a desperate situation, he finally didn't care anymore. His body seemed to expand. He leaned to the left and bumped into Lu Qing with his shoulder. The 7th level of fire-like invasion. However, Lu Qing had already entered the field he was best at, which was listening and sensing. He lowered his body, turned his back and pulled, and used his left arm as a fulcrum to throw Jianghu out of the ring. Jianghu flew over his head and out of the ring. The referee was slightly surprised, but he still raised his hand and announced the result. The second round, Lu Qing wins. There were still 2 more levels of fire-like invasion, but Jianghu had already lost the match. Thump. Seeing senior brother Jiang, who usually taught disciples on behalf of his master, fall in front of them and struggle to stand up, the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School felt sad and desolate. No one spoke. Could it be that Lu Qing had single-handedly challenged the martial arts school? The members of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club were also silent. They had not yet digested this unexpected surprise. Obviously, Jianghu seemed to be much more powerful and had the upper hand in the battle. How could he lose to Lu Qing in the end? Moreover, he lost so miserably that the injury on his left arm could not be healed without a certain amount of time. Yanjika opened her pink lips slightly and then closed them again, revealing a playful and gentle dimple, just like the change when she heard the news in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament. Pan Qingyun couldn't suppress his anger and fighting spirit anymore. He suddenly stood up and was about to walk to the arena. At this time, Lu Qing, who was happy and complacent, shook his arm and rubbed his fist. He felt that his bones were still a little painful. If he continued to fight, he was afraid that he would be injured. But his opponent was only of amateur first pin. Since he was in the limelight, he had to leave some leftovers for his brother-in-law, right? Therefore, when Pan Qingyun came to him, he turned around and left the arena with his bare feet. He didn't even look at his opponent. He left. Pan Qingyun was stunned on his way out. Just like that? I'm not of amateur first pin. I'm of professional 9th pin. P.S. Based on your request, I'm updating in advance. Please recommend me. In addition, I have some content from Midnight newspaper on my Signal Wuxia 1985. You are welcome to read it. Chapter 121. The sun on Sunday shone through the windows of Hongluo Martial Arts School, leaving the room full of brilliance. Lu Qing walked barefoot in the brilliance as if he was walking on a golden road. He was in a good mood, overflowing with happiness and relieving all the pressure. He looked at Yanjika walking back leisurely in front of the silent disciples and students of the martial arts club. This is the taste of victory. When he passed by Kai Zongming and the others, he nodded and greeted them contentedly, not at all embarrassed by the reality of being barefoot. What a master! A martial artist who hasn't reached physical invulnerability can be so powerful. He broke his shoes in one move. Didn't you see the cracks and footprints on the stone floor? If he punched the boys in our school, they would be smashed into meat pies. So manly. A few girls from the School of Arts whispered to each other, full of admiration. They had only seen the fights of physical invulnerability experts and didn't have a clear understanding of dance stage and body refining. Today was the first time they knew that a human could be so fierce with only physical strength. For the first time, they looked at the martial arts club in a new light. Boys who practice martial arts are so energetic and elegant. They saw Lin Kei stand up and walk towards Lu Qing. They looked around and came to the same conclusion. Hearing their undisguised discussion, Kai Zongming had an impulse to cry. If he hadn't been lazy last year and joined the special training of the martial arts club, he wouldn't have been able to defeat Qing. He's a freak. Zhang Jingya was a little jealous. Wu Qian sensed it and whispered in his ear, just take it that we're talking about TV stars, idols, singers, and famous martial artists. We're just gossiping. Not many people take it seriously. You're right. Zhang Jingya was relieved. But in this way there would be a gap between Qing and them. Qiu Zhigao sighed with emotion. I'm so jealous of Qing. I often dream of the scene just now. As a man who liked to show off his muscles even in his dormitory, and as a new student who had an amateur level when he entered the school, it would be a lie if he said that he had never dreamed of martial arts when he was young. However, as he grew older and lost his talent, he gradually recognized reality and rationally put his time and energy into studying. He stared at the arena in a daze. His hot blood boiled and his melancholy lasted for a long time. In the end, it turned into a sigh and disappeared into silence. I hope Cheng can go further on the path of martial arts and let me know how beautiful this glorious path is. Zhao Chang pondered and suddenly blurted out, "Old Xiu, did you notice that Cheng won the game with a ha at the end? This must be the protection of some mysterious power. He sacrificed his own time." What? Qiu Zhigao was at a loss. Forget it. You're not a real fan. Zhao Chang lowered his voice and sighed. We've been trying to please him along the way, but we're not as impressed as Cheng's 2 matches. Qiu Zhigao chuckled and said, "That's normal, just like how you like beautiful, cute and playful girls." I like to study. Zhao Chang pushed up his black-rimmed glasses seriously. I'm going to start preparing for the postgraduate entrance exam now. So early? You're only a freshman. Qiu Zhigao was surprised. Zhao Chang smiled slightly and put away all of his seriousness and indecency. He exhaled and said, I've thought it over very clearly. Everyone has their own characteristics and their own future. The postgraduate entrance exam is the most suitable for me. I can't follow others to practice martial arts just because others practice martial arts, right? It's better to prepare early than to cram for it. I'll slowly improve my inner qualities and abilities. There must be someone who likes me. Qiu Zhigao was stunned by the 3 questions in a row. He gasped and said, Chang, why do I feel that you've developed a deeper thought? Zhao Chang didn't say anything. He pushed up his black-rimmed glasses again, reflecting the sunlight through the window. When they were about to reach the tatami of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Lu Qing saw Li Mao taking the lead and applauding to welcome him back. Yan Zhika, on the other hand, was smiling. Her eyes were twinkling, looking playful and joyful. In the applause, he found Lin Kei standing up and walking towards him. He raised his right hand with a smile and made a high-five gesture. Lin Kei was stunned and didn't slow down. When he was about to pass by Lu Cheng's right side, he reached out his hand and gave Lu Cheng a high five. Come on, Lu Cheng said with a smile. In his mind he added, brother-in-law? Lin Kei nodded and looked over Lu Cheng's shoulder to the arena, looking at his opponent. They passed by each other. Lu Cheng returned to the tatami and sat on Lin Kei's seat. Only Guqing was between him and Yan Zhika. Awesome. Cheng, you're good. You'll definitely win the ranking event in April. Li Mao, Sun Jian and Qin Jianghua gave him a thumbs up to express their admiration. Lu Cheng was very happy and refreshed. He was about to respond when he felt a sudden pain in his arms and hands. He quickly unbuttoned his shirt and rolled up his sleeves. He found some bruises, some red and swollen. His bones were also very sore. Are you okay? I brought some ointment in the locker room. Yan Zhika looked at him and asked with concern. What? Hearing this, Li Mao, Lin Hua and the others immediately looked at Lu Cheng and Yan Zhika, sizing them up. Yan Zhika also realized that she was too active and became the center of attention. She blushed shyly and looked very beautiful. Lu Cheng's heart was beating fast. Applying ointment in the locker room? 2 people together? He kept the last trace of reservation and said, Lin Kei's match is coming soon. As his teammate, it's not good to not watch and cheer for him. Sun Jian couldn't stand his hypocrisy and said, Lin Kei's opponent is of amateur first pin. What's there to watch? Go and apply the ointment. Don't leave any hidden injuries that will affect next week's match. Okay. Lu Cheng was waiting for others to persuade him. He immediately stood up and looked at Yan Zhika. Yan Zhika had long regretted her suggestion. Feeling her face burning, she rolled her eyes at him. But after looking at his bruises and swollen face, she pursed her lips, turned her head, stood up and walked to the locker room with a blush, avoiding all eyes. But she still walked proudly to the locker room. Lu Cheng looked at her swaying back and followed her with a wandering mind. He heard the whispers of Li Mao and the others. Tisk tisk. Junior brothers nowadays are so great. Qin Jianghua sighed with emotion. They were all college students who practiced martial arts. Why was he single for 4 years? Li Mao also sighed. I always thought that he had no hope to win her heart. Just like how he thought his martial arts future was. In the locker room there was no one around. Yan Zhika turned around and snorted with her hands behind her back. Tell me, why did you agree? You should ask me to take out the ointment and apply it outside yourself. Lu Cheng suddenly felt like he was flirting with her. He pretended to be pitiful and said, but it's not easy for me to apply it myself. It hurts on both hands. Really? Yan Zhika hurriedly checked it. As a girl from a martial arts family, she had a good eye. She was relieved and said, there are no wounds on the bones. Sit down, I'll get the ointment. She trotted to the locker, took out the ointment and sat next to Lu Qing. She raised her right hand, which had a lot of bruises, squeezed out the ointment, and kneaded it in a special way. Lu Qing's eyes followed her figure and followed her busy movements. At this moment, looking at the girl beside him, looking at her delicate skin, looking at her rosy cheeks, looking at her glossy lips, looking at her slightly distressed expression, and looking at her focused and gentle eyes, although the place where his right hand was being pinched was painful, he was willing to endure it. He even felt like he was intoxicated by it, even if it wasn't wine that made him drunk. At this moment he longed for eternity. After kneading the bruises on both hands, Yanjika rolled her eyes and pretended to be normal. She said, "Where's your locker? I'll bring your shoes here. It's not good for you to walk barefoot." That. Lu Qing pointed, enjoying the girl's thoughtfulness and gentleness. "You continue to knead them yourself." Yanjika wiped her hands with a tissue and turned to the locker. When she took out Lu Cheng's sneakers, she deliberately blocked his view with her back and quickly looked at the size. Then she lifted the corner of her mouth and went back with the shoes. "What made you so happy?" Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yanjika said with a smile, "If you didn't bring this pair of shoes, you would have to go back barefoot." "Who would use martial arts shoes as a daily item?" Lu Cheng answered with a relaxed body and mind. His socks were gloriously broken just now, so he had to wear shoes barefoot for the time being. "Ah, Lu Cheng is so cool." Yan Shaoling sent a voice message to Brahmin while staring at the replay on the screen. Brahmin laughed crisply. The scene of him turning around barefoot perfectly matched my expectations and fantasies of a mysterious master. According to the commentator, the professional 9th pin fighter who lost is very strong, close to the dance stage. Haha, he is now praising our Lu Qing crazily, saying that he is not only a genius, but also good at actual combat and seizing opportunities. Yan Shaoling was satisfied and wanted to give the commentator a thumbs up. While the two girls were talking and laughing, Yan Shaoling opened the web page and logged into the forum, preparing to create a post about the preliminaries. When the page refreshed, she suddenly rubbed her eyes, wondering if she had seen the wrong number. Yesterday there were only 4 followers. How come there are 368 followers now? How many times had it increased? Brahmin, go to the forum. I think there's something wrong with my eyes. Yan Shaoling sent a message to Brahmin immediately. After a while, Brahmin replied weakly, "My eyes seem to have something wrong with them too." In the same forum, Unparalleled Dragon King quietly posted a post. Lu Cheng's data collection. Name, Lu Cheng. Occupation, student. Age, 19. School, Songqing University. Martial arts rank, strong professional 9th pin. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, most of the disciples and trainees had lost all hope. Only a few core disciples who knew Pan Qingyun's real strength still had a glimmer of hope, hoping that he could turn the situation around as a secret weapon. As long as he defeated Lin Ke, the 3rd fighter of Songqing University would not even reach amateur 1st pin. Pan Qingyun adjusted his breath and stood opposite Lin Quebec. Because it was the first time for both of them to fight, there was no problem of physical recovery, so even if there was no time to talk, the referee was not in a hurry to announce the start of the fight. Instead, he called the staff to clean up the arena, so as not to interfere with the following fight. After a while, he confirmed with the 2 fighters, then waved his right hand and said loudly, "Start." Pan Qingyun knew that his strength of professional 9th pin couldn't be hidden from Lin Ke for long, so he planned to go all out from the beginning to seize the opportunity when Lin Ke underestimated him. He visualized a spreading flame and ignited his whole body. He tightened his waist and back, pushed down and put strength in his legs and feet. He suddenly pounced on Lin Ke for several meters. Lin Ke didn't retreat. He strode forward and suddenly stopped. He put strength in his feet, his body slightly trembled, his temples bulged and his right arm pulled back. In a very short distance he completed the eruption and electric shooting, and hit Pan Qingyun like a meteor. Pan Qingyun also completed the first eruption, as if he was holding a giant hammer, and hit down fiercely. Bang! When the two collided, Pan Qingyun felt like he was hit by a bomb. His whole body was shaking, his bones were trembling, his blood and qi were rolling, his internal organs were uncomfortable, and his fascia and muscles were unable to exert strength for a while. Lin Ke approached him, pulled out his left arm and stopped at his neck. Round 3, Lin Ke wins. The referee suddenly felt like laughing. This was even faster than the first round. The gap between a professional ninth pin and an amateur first pin was indeed huge. Lin Ke didn't look at Pan Qingyun. His expressionless face revealed a thoughtful expression, and he whispered to himself, "Just like him, I have to go all out from the beginning?" While speaking, Lin Ke made an obeisance, turned around and walked out of the ring with neither joy nor sadness. There was nothing to be happy about defeating an opponent of amateur first pin. Pan Qingyun stared blankly and suddenly wanted to shout loudly to announce the truth to everyone. "I'm a professional ninth pin, not an amateur first pin. P.S. The book will be published in the early hours of the morning. Everyone get your subscriptions and monthly tickets ready. There will be a speech for the book release later." Chapter 122. It was time for another book to be published. There was already a new page at 7 p.m., and there would be a VIP chapter at around 12:10 p.m. Normally speaking, at this time I would talk about how hard I worked and how difficult it was to write this book. I would talk about my pitifulness and friendship in order to get more subscribers. But first I would like to talk about something else, something that might cause the number of subscribers to drop. That was, don't have unnecessary expectations. I've already said that this book is a book of small scale, a book of medium to low-level martial arts. There won't be any battles between heaven and earth, no intense conflicts and no grand schemes. Don't hold unnecessary expectations for these. The reason why I chose to publish the book for 2 months, 6,000 words a day and 400,000 words a day, was to attract more readers. Also, I wanted to write out the book's style, rhythm, and main points so that the old readers would understand what kind of book it was, whether they would like it, and whether it was worth subscribing after it was published. I had always felt bad for everyone's money. I never wanted you to subscribe and support this book unconditionally just because of the books before it, even if you didn't like it. That would make me feel guilty. What I wanted was for you to only subscribe if you liked it. If you didn't like the style of this book, you could always wait for the next book. The next book would definitely be a different style and rhythm. There would always be something you like. There were many details in this book that I had wanted to write about for a long time. After the Fate Destroyer incident, didn't I say that I had the idea of writing about a fantasy city? Fantasy was arcane, and this was part of that city. Back then, I wanted to write about the technical flow of industrial layout, but now, I didn't have the passion, the idea, or the knowledge to do so. However, I often thought about the daily details in the book, smiled at them, and always wanted to write about them. Back then, I chose to write about arcane magic for 2 reasons. First, the change in the city was too big. Second, I was more passionate and motivated about arcane magic. Third, I didn't think that my writing skills back then were enough to write the daily details I wanted. I was afraid that I would only write a bunch of flowing accounts. After the tempering of the 3 books, it wasn't until the end of this life that I finally had the confidence to write a good daily life without deliberately creating conflicts. I could write something that was interesting in the mundane. At least for now, I barely managed to write it, and it was also the first time that I had the feeling of writing an essay that was filled with laughter and anger. This is a slow-paced book. I want to write about a young man named Lu Cheng. What kind of people he will meet, what will happen, what kind of feelings he will experience, what kind of friends he will have, what kind of enemies he will face, and what kind of person he will grow up to. Martial arts is important, but other things are equally important. The dark main line of this book is Lu Cheng's life. Every one of us will experience the life we are tasting or reminiscing from time to time. There was nothing wrong with that. I like to read it too. Nowadays, society was fickle and everyone was busy. The time left for reading was limited. Who would have the time to slowly create, contrast, and outline the characters? But if you read too much of this kind of thing, you would get tired of it. When I first came in contact with online novels, I was surprised by the variety of styles. No matter how special my tastes were at any stage, I could find what I wanted to read. I still remembered when I was moved. I still remembered many characters with different characteristics. I still remembered reading books in front of the computer and almost crying because of the plot. Now, there were definitely similar books, but they were getting fewer and fewer. I'm not boasting about how rare it is. I just want to say that I really want to write a book like this. There are details, daily life, hot-bloodedness, passion, touching feelings, memories, innocence, purity, and all kinds of living people. The only problem is that the pace will be very slow and there will be fewer conflicts. This is King tragedy, but the results can be predicted. Also, I wanted to proudly say that I tried a new way of describing characters. I didn't want to say what kind of person Jianghu was. I didn't want to quickly create cute points and try to leave a deep impression in 1 or 2 chapters. Again, I violated the requirements of online novels. Instead, I started to outline little by little, using the chat and daily details to draw this girl. If you didn't like to read the dialogue, you might miss a little bit of her beauty. I hoped that by the time I finished the outline, she would be liked by everyone. Well, about what you're worried about, I can only say that life is hard enough. I have too many regrets in the past. The book will definitely not be like this. I want to have a happy ending. This is a book that completely violates the trend and rhythm of online novels. I was actually mentally prepared for the result of subscriptions. But since I wanted to write it, then I'll write it. When I don't have to bend my back for 5 buckets of rice, when I'm still brooding over my shortcomings, when I'm still impulsive and passionate. I want to give myself a motto, and hope that I can always stick to it until I quit the online novel circle. That is, never be satisfied, always challenge. Actually, it can be said that I'm always looking for trouble. Alright, I've said a lot of nonsense. In the end, I still want to ask for subscriptions. I've never been shy about saying that I love money. I want to use my novels to earn money. I want to earn it standing. Well, I hope that my friends who like it will subscribe. I don't want the result to be too bad. As for outbursts, to be honest, the details and fighting are really hard to write. I've been racking my brain all day looking for the feeling. Writing 9,000 is already close to my limit. I can only promise that on the first day, I'll update 4 chapters, 2 chapters in the morning, 3 chapters in the future, and at least 20 days in December. Finally, at the end, I'm asking for a monthly vote. I'm ambitious too. I still want to get a higher ranking so that more people will read this book. Also, welcome to my Weixin public account, Wuxia 1985. I'll release a character image in the future. Chapter 123. Wang Hui, the principal of Hongluo Martial Arts School, looked at Jiang Guoxing, who came back with a depressed face, and then at Pan Qingyun, who was dumbstruck on the arena. He suddenly sighed deeply. It was good that they lost. It was a setback for them, so that they wouldn't become self-righteous if they always stayed in the Songqing Martial Arts School circle. As for redeeming their image and making a name for themselves, there were still 6 matches left. Moreover, losing 1 match didn't mean that they couldn't qualify for the next round. Later, he would ask a familiar reporter to take a picture and publish an article. The focus would be on the footprints and cracks on the bluestone ground, so as to show that Hongluo Martial Arts School was really capable. In Songqing TV station, professional commentator Fang Juexiao and guest of professional 7th Pin Gan Lu looked at each other. They didn't expect this match to end so quickly. Fortunately, it wasn't like this hadn't happened before in low-level professional matches. The TV stations would ask for a few matches to be aired at different times so that they could prepare for the broadcast. After the director's instructions, Fang Juexiao returned to normal. He smiled at the camera and said, "The 3rd match ended so quickly. I thought Lu Cheng's victory over Fang Tong was already very fast. I didn't expect this match to be even faster. But it seems that it's quite normal for a professional 9th pin to defeat an amateur 1st pin, so there's no need to be too surprised. There's nothing to rewind. We'll cut to the scene later and have our reporter do the post-match interview. Today we saw the debut of a genius fighter and got to know this student named Lu Cheng. He went from having no foundation to defeating a professional 9th pin fighter in half a year. And his fighting style is tough, crazy, and fierce. We can directly feel the masculinity, courage, and confidence of a fighter. If we give him another half a year or even a year, I can't imagine what will happen. It seems that it's not impossible for him to reach the Danchi state. Maybe in the near future, we'll really remember this young man's name. To be honest, I sympathize with Jiang Guoxing. In the martial arts circle of Songqing, he's quite famous and his strength has been recognized. He's only 1 step away from reaching the Dan state. But the reality is so cruel. The old will eventually make way for the young. This is especially obvious in the martial arts world. If you haven't reached the Dan state and are over 30 years old, you're really afraid of the young. Alas, this makes a middle-aged man like me sigh with a sense of crisis. 19 years old Lu Cheng and 19 years old Lin Ke are both genius fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is about to set off a youth storm in the preliminaries. Although they're only in the body refining state now, things will really be different at this time next year or the year after. I'm thinking if Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't recruit students, I'm afraid there will be a bunch of people paying money tomorrow. Of course, there will definitely be more students willing to join the martial arts club. After nagging for so long, let's summarize. Let's look forward to the next match of Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Well, they'll go to Yimo and fight against Fearless Squad. This is a team spontaneously formed by several local fighters. They're also the favorite to advance from the group stage. Their main fighter is Wei Xingtian of professional 8th Pin, Danchi State. Well, let's move on to the next match and wait for the post-match interview of Songqing University Martial Arts Club and Hongluo Martial Arts Club. Yan Shaoling looked at the increasing number of fans. She pinched her face and finally confirmed that she wasn't dreaming. Whether a martial arts competition was broadcasted on TV or on the internet, the difference in the number of viewers was like heaven and earth. Especially for those who watched the competition online, there would always be people who would search for it. Even if it was only 1/10 or a few tens of people, they would follow it for various reasons, which was still quite terrifying. And this was only the TV stations that weren't in the top 3 video websites that weren't on the internet. When there were more people, there would naturally be different voices. Yan Shaoling soon saw a post with the title, "Lu Qing is too ungentlemanly, isn't he? Fighting like a street gangster, vicious, ugly and disgusting. Humph." Yan Shaoling suddenly felt that her lungs were about to explode. She opened the post and planned to scold, "No, be reasonable. I'm a civilized, gentle, polite and cute fan of Lu Qing." The poster was called "I Just Can't Stand." He wrote eloquently, greeting people between their legs for no reason. "Lu Qing is really dark. Doesn't he have the demeanor of a master? He even breathed in people's faces. Doesn't he find his mouth smelly?" Yan Shaoling scrolled down and was about to reply when she saw Unparalleled Dragon King posted a picture of Dragon King breathing fire in his opponent's face. "Dragon King passed by shamefully," he replied. A new follower named Nyechichi followed closely with a picture of warrior sage Chen Donglu slapping his opponent's crotch. She added, "Warrior sage silently gave it a like." Blood-sucking cat followed closely. Dong Baxin was scared and called him an idiot. This sentence was followed by a picture of Yanzhao Hall Master Dong Baxin when he was young. Yan Shaoling read the replies one by one. Her anger gradually faded and she was constantly amused. She felt that the netizens of her forum were so talented. She suddenly felt that it was silly and cute to reason with them in a serious manner. So she exited the forum and pushed the post reported by her fans to the top. She replied, "Come and check in, everyone." At this moment she was filled with a sense of achievement and happiness. She saw that the forum finally improved under her and Brahman's care. It was as if the two of them had accompanied Lu Cheng's growth bit by bit. Looking at the increasing number of fans, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly. Looking at it, she laughed foolishly again. Xu Rui suddenly felt a toothache when she saw Lin Ke beat Pan Qingyun. Today's match was wonderful, but it was too short. Normally speaking, a 3-person selection match would last half an hour. If the match was a little longer, more anxious, and the strength of the two sides was about the same, and there were a little more matches, this goal could be easily achieved. But now, she looked at the watch on her wrist and found that the time was fixed at 3:11. And this match started at 3 o'clock sharp. Deducting 3 minutes of conversation time, cleaning up the arena, and deliberately extending the time in between, how long would the real battle last? And this was mainly focused on the second match, Lu Qing versus Jianghu. "Those guys in the advertising department will draw circles and curse me." Xu Rui restrained her feelings and laughed at herself. She held the microphone and walked to Lin Ke, who was leaving the arena. She was quickly thinking about the interview in her mind. For Lin Ke, defeating a fighter of amateur first pin was nothing to say. It was not newsworthy. She had to change her angle. Stopping Lin Ke, Xu Rui handed him the microphone and smiled professionally. "Hello, Lin Quebec. I'm a reporter from Songqing TV station. I have a few questions to ask you. Your fighting style just now seemed a little different from before." As a reporter who focused on martial arts, she had a good eye. Lin Ke said coldly, "Shouldn't I go all out from the beginning? Well, you didn't do that before. And your opponent was of amateur first pin." Xu Rui almost choked. Pan Qingyun looked at them from the arena and heard the conversation. He felt sad. "I'm of professional 9th pin." To this question Lin Ke answered matter-of-factly, "People change." "That's so reasonable. I don't know what to say." Xu Rui smiled stiffly and changed the topic. "What do you think of your teammate Lu Cheng's performance today? He even defeated the opponent's leading general. Is that out of your expectation?" Lin Ke thought for a while and said, "I do have some opinions, but I don't want to tell others." Shu Rui was dumbfounded. She stared blankly at Lin Kei, who nodded and brushed past her, heading for the tatami where the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was located. She had interviewed many Songqing martial artists, many of whom were eccentric. But she had never seen someone like Lin Kei. Was his character flawed? Or was he good at telling cold jokes? Only with comparison could one feel. At this moment, Shu Rui felt that Lu Cheng was a good interviewee, 100 times better than Lin Kei. She turned her eyes to the Songqing Martial Arts Club, intending to interview Lu Cheng and comfort herself. Where is Lu Cheng? Why wasn't he celebrating with everyone? Where had he run off to? Shu Rui was stunned for a moment. She suddenly felt that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club was too capricious. Couldn't they just accept an interview? Humph, if I hadn't proposed this competition, I would have slandered you. She couldn't find Lu Cheng, so she had to turn around and walk to the Hongluo Martial Arts School. She interviewed Wang Hui, Jiang Guoxing, and Fang Tong one by one. Wang Hui sighed and said, "They are indeed very strong, but it's not like we don't have a chance. If we had known that Lu Cheng had the supernatural ability of fire, the result today might have been different. But no matter what, we still have to congratulate them." Jiang Guoxing smiled bitterly. "It's my own problem. Lu Cheng was braver and more determined, so he deserved the victory. Me. I must be unwilling and sullen, but a failure is a failure. There is no excuse. I can only find the problem and try to change it. My joints have been set, but it will take about 2 weeks to recover. I hope Qing Yun and Fang Tong can shoulder the burden. There is nothing to say. I just want to have a chance to fight with them again. I won't be as careless as today." Fang Tong regained his spirit. "Of course, through today's competition, I also found my own problem. A good opponent is a good mirror." After that, Shu Rui went to interview the audience randomly. Looking at her back, Pan Qingyun wanted to cry but failed to shed a tear. "What about me? Won't you interview me? I'm not of amateur first pin, I'm of professional ninth pin." Wang Hui glanced at his last disciple and suddenly felt like laughing. His secret weapon was really a secret to the end. The Songqing University Martial Arts Club entered the locker room, interrupting Lu Cheng's enjoyment. Yanjika put down the ointment and stood up. Her cheeks were red. She pretended to be calm and asked, "One? So fast?" "Of course. His opponent is of amateur first pin. How much time can Lin Kei spend?" Li Mao answered with a smile. Then he looked at Lu Cheng and began to jeer. "You took away the treasure of our martial arts club. Don't you want to show some appreciation? Don't you want to treat us to a meal?" Lu Cheng was disappointed because he didn't have the girl's hand to massage him. Hearing this, he answered shyly and happily, "How about tonight? We can celebrate the victory." He didn't want to ask about Lin Kei's enemy. His opponent was of amateur first pin. His name was Pan. What was it again? While speaking, he looked at Yanjika. The girl was shy and angry, but her eyes were bright. She snorted and turned her head aside. She didn't object to his proposal. This kind of thing must be approved by his girlfriend. "We have activities on the weekend. It's still early. It's troublesome to gather us in the evening. How about tomorrow at noon? After the special training, we can go to the cafeteria together. We don't eat anything good, just a small fry. Hey, remember, this is not the purpose of your money." Sun Jian joked, but his girlfriend, Lin Hua, pinched him. A small fry in the cafeteria was at least half the price compared to the same amount in the restaurant. Seeing that Li Mao and others agreed and Yanjika didn't show any displeasure, Lu Qing immediately said, "Okay, tomorrow at noon." After that, they changed clothes and cleaned up. When Lu Qing came out of the bathroom, he saw Yanjika standing in front of Lin Quebec. She put her hands together and made a cute begging gesture. Lin Kei was silent for a while and nodded slightly. Looking for an opportunity, he approached Yanjika and asked in a low voice, "What did you ask your cousin for?" Yanjika smiled shyly and said, "I asked him not to gossip and not to tell my family about us." "Your family doesn't want you to date in college?" Lu Qing asked sharply. Yanjika nodded like a chick pecking at grains. "Yes, my parents all want me to focus on my studies in college and think about dating after graduation. But my mom didn't listen to my grandparents and stubbornly married my dad, didn't she?" "So?" Lu Qing asked. Yanjika slightly raised her chin and turned her head aside. She snorted and said, "Like mother, like daughter?" Looking at her proud and shy expression, Lu Qing was moved and warm. He just wanted to hold her in his arms and give her a gentle kiss, pouring all his feelings into it. Considering that Yenjika hadn't completely adapted to the situation in front of so many people, he just reached out his hand and quietly grasped Yenjika's delicate hand. They looked at each other and exchanged 1,000 words. After a few minutes, Yenjika saw that everyone was done. She quickly retracted her hand and looked up. I'm going shopping with Qing later. I'll treat you to a meal in the cafeteria tonight. We'll hold a celebration party for you. Okay. Lu Qing wanted to say that he would accompany her, but considering that the blabbermouth and straightforward Guqing would be in the middle, he gave up. He still had 2 pairs of martial arts shoes which were enough for now. He didn't need to rush to buy them. When he had time he would use this as an excuse to go out with Yenjika. Chapter 124. Clap, clap, clap. Seeing that the preliminaries had finished packing up, Geezer sure clapped several times to attract everyone's attention. This old man won't say anything about winning at the start. The preliminaries have just begun, and there are still many matches to go. We can't always be immersed in our victories. As humans we have to look forward, right? He poured cold water on the cheerful atmosphere. Our next match is still an away game. We'll go to Yimo, which is not far away. It's only 40 to 50 minutes by train. We'll go there on the same day and come back on the same day. We'll save money for our stingy school. Sun Jian didn't get a chance to fight today and had nowhere to vent his energy. He asked excitedly, Coach, sure, which martial arts club is our opponent? It's not a martial arts club. It's a team formed by several outstanding local young fighters who broke the barrier between martial arts clubs. The leading fighter is called Wei Xingtian. He's at Danchi State and professional 8th pin. His goal is to get a place in the division and get a unique martial arts skill as a reward. There are 2 fighters of professional 9th pin and their substitutes are all above amateur 3rd pin. They're the most popular team. Geezer sure took out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket and read a few words. Although his description was very strong, it didn't make people feel that he was very serious. 1 of professional 8th pin and 2 of professional 9th pin. Lu Qing suddenly felt that the future of this competition was not bright. However, the goal of his own martial arts club was the National University Martial Arts Competition. The preliminaries were only a way to practice. Overall, winning or losing was not important. Facing a master and suffering setbacks was definitely more rewarding than facing a weak and winning all the way. Even with such a lineup, there was still a big gap between them and Shanbei University Martial Arts Club. Whether they could beat Sanjiang College or not depended on whether they could restrain the supernatural ability of the opponent. Coach, can you tell us more? Young people were not afraid of failure and didn't have any goals for the preliminaries. Li Mao and others were not scared but asked with interest. Geezer sure coughed twice. I'll send their relevant information to your mailbox tomorrow. Take your time to read it. Why not send it today? Don't you want to leave some time to enjoy the taste of victory? Hearing this sentence, Lu Qing and the others found it funny, but the excitement and joy of defeating Hongluo Martial Arts School was restored. They looked at each other, opened their throats and shouted a few times, shouting out the passion and youth of Zhang Yang. Victory! Songqing University will win. His voice traveled out of the changing room, making the spectators who were leaving feel bitter and aggrieved. They couldn't wait for the 2 sides to fight again. The school bus left the parking lot and slowly drove to the entrance of Hongluo Martial Arts School. Lu Qing reluctantly waved goodbye to Yenjika and Guqing. He didn't board the bus until they got on the online taxi. Guqing, that 3rd wheel. Sun Jian, who was sitting next to Lin Hua, sighed with emotion and complained for Lu Qing. Then he turned around and said with a smirk, Dear, it's still early. Why don't we go for a date? Seeing the sweetness between Cheng and Yenjika reminds me of our youth. Let's go. Let's go on a date. Screw you. Lin Hua pinched Sun Jian fiercely, but was still pulled away by him. She shyly waited for the taxi. Qin Zhanghua, Li Mao, and the other single dogs didn't say anything. They all raised their middle fingers at Sun Jian's silhouette. Lu Qing was angry and amused at the same time. He suddenly regretted not going with Yenjika. Why are you afraid of the 3rd wheel? He looked around and found that Kai Zongming hadn't got on the bus yet. When he was about to take out his phone to ask, he received a call from little Ming. Hey, the bus is leaving. Hurry up. Lu Qing hurriedly reminded him as soon as the call was answered. Kai Zongming laughed and said, I won't take the school bus back. Model worker has a girlfriend, right? He said he's going to treat our dormitory and his girlfriend's dormitory to dinner. You know, model worker's family is not rich and he needs to save money for a date. so we decided to split the bill. Do you want to go? Let's find a place to sing karaoke and then eat hot pot. In this damn weather, it's so cold when the sun goes down. Hot pot is better. Hey, are you going or not? I don't have the space to say anything. How can I answer talker? Lu Qing complained, I'd better not go. I'm going to meet Yan Zhika at the cafeteria for dinner. Hello Qing. Goodbye Qing. Kai Zhongming teased. Since you're dating now, shouldn't you treat us to a meal? Model worker is so self-conscious today. Haha, I'll treat you when I'm free. Lu Qing had decided to treat them to the cafeteria stir-fry. He had to save money and use it where it was needed most. In Hongluo Martial Arts School, Kai Zhongming hung up the phone and spread his hands to Zhang Jingye, Wu Qian and the others. Qing is on a date. He can't join us. A date? He got Yan Zhika? Qiu Zhigao opened his mouth and was full of astonishment. Since he chatted with Guqing from time to time, he was certain that Lu Qing was pursuing Yan Zhika. However, he always felt that girls at that level would not be interested in Lu Qing. Qing's martial arts strength had increased rapidly, and he had become confident and elegant. It was only this semester, but he would have to spend at least a year or so pursuing her. But this guy got both martial arts and love at the same time. What did he do to move Yan Zhika, who had so many pursuers? Kai Zhongming nodded with a smile. Yes, he has been pursuing her since last semester. Finally, his hard work pays off. Zhao Chang was stunned for a while and blurted out, Damn, he's a winner in life. Wu Qian asked curiously, Is it the beautiful girl in the martial arts club? Yes, I didn't think it was possible at that time. But how can you know it's impossible if you don't try? What if a blind cat bumps into a dead mouse? What if the girl is blind? Even if Lu Qing was not in front of him, Kai Zhongming could not restrain his impulse to tease him. But in the end he said, I'm envious of you. A foreign dog. You also have a girlfriend? One of Wu Qian's roommates asked with a smile. Kai Zhongming nodded slightly and answered frankly and humorously, Of course, do I look like the kind of guy who doesn't have a girlfriend? Like this one? Zhao Chang and Qiu Zhigao couldn't stand the teasing and hurriedly said, Let's go. Don't waste time. Kai Zhongming laughed and said, Yeah, this is a hostile place. All the members of the martial arts club have left. If we stay here, we'll be beaten up. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a chill in his surroundings. He saw that the disciples and students of Hongluo Martial Arts School were looking at him and the others with a complicated expression. He was immediately frightened and quickly led the others out of the martial arts school. Facing the remaining sunlight of the afternoon, he said in a tone as if he had escaped from heaven, Let's go and have fun. In the car, Guqing could no longer suppress her doubts and asked, Ku, why do you suddenly want to go shopping? Yan Zhika loosened her ponytail and flipped her hair. She turned to look out of the window and said with a smile, Cheng's shoes are broken. Oh? Guqing suddenly understood and then said with inexplicable grief and indignation, Do you have to stimulate a single dog like me? My eyes were blinded by the flash. Yan Zhika's shyness was dispelled by Guqing's reaction. She pursed her lips and said with a smile, Then you should get it quickly. Guqing sighed, Why don't you have a flirting tutorial? I want to knock old Qiu out with a stick and drag him back. Seeing Guqing looking at her, Yan Zhika laughed and said, What's the use of looking at me? I've never chased a guy before. You need to find a master to guide you. Qing, your facial features are actually not bad. Dress up a little and don't wear clothes that show off your arms and legs. I'm sure you can find a boyfriend. Yes, I think so too. Guqing was a straightforward and optimistic person. In the blink of an eye, she put this matter behind her. In the shopping mall, Yan Zhika took Guqing to shop here and there. She compared martial arts shoes carefully as if she was carrying out an important task. The school bus was running. It was empty. Lu Qing occupied 2 seats by himself. He basked in the sun and took a nap. Occasionally he woke up to chat with Yan Zhika. He felt warm and lazy. This was what a weekend should be like. After arriving at the new campus, he said goodbye to Li Mao, Lin Kei and the others and went back to his own dormitory. Li Mao stood there and watched them leave. The scene of the competition just now was surging in his mind. It was fixed on the scene when Lu Qing and Jianghu fought and broke their martial arts shoes. He thought about himself and his nervousness every time. Suddenly, he felt afraid that he would be left behind by everyone and never be able to catch up with them again. Then he would never be able to make up for the mistakes he made last year. Well, if I practice a few more times, it will become an instinct. No matter how nervous I am, I can use it naturally. Li Mao took a deep breath and stepped forward. He didn't go back to his dormitory, but to the martial arts gym of Songqing University. Not long after, he carried a change of clothes and stepped through the entrance of the martial arts arena. It was not empty inside. During the weekend, many students came to exercise. They could use everything here except for the locker room. Li Mao looked around and walked to the men's locker room first. When he was about to take out the key to open the door, a shadow suddenly appeared beside him. Senior brother Qin? He turned his head and was surprised to find that it was Qin Jianghua. Why are you here? Qin Jianghua smiled bitterly. I couldn't sit still after watching the two junior brothers' competition. I will participate in the professional ranking event in April. I am 100% sure that I will meet Lu Cheng. I just hope that we won't be in the same group. Alas, I thought that the training in the morning was not intense and I could practice in the afternoon. So I decided to come here. You too? Yeah. Li Mao smiled tacitly. This is our weekend. Back in his dormitory, Lu Cheng turned on his computer and clicked on the browser. He wanted to see what changes had happened to his private forum after the live broadcast. 413 fans. He looked at the number in disbelief. There are 413 people supporting me now? This was the number of students from 7 or 8 classes in high school. He scrolled down and found that there were not as many posts and active IDs as he had expected. But this was normal. The silent ones were always the majority, and those who followed him were not necessarily his supporters. He read every post and was amused by the talented answers of the forum members. He was shocked by the fact that Unparalleled Dragon King had become his fan. He was moved by the adorable Eternal Nightfall and Brahmin, who were trying to maintain order. He picked up his phone from time to time and chatted with Jika, intending to share this matter with her during dinner. Lu Cheng also read the chat group of the Longhu Club forum and said a few words. He was caught by Wonton Seller and asked curiously, "Little tiger, why did you disappear again recently?" "I am in love," Lu Cheng said with a funny face. He couldn't wait to tell the whole world about his happiness. "Yo, you have a girlfriend so soon? College students nowadays are really making us old guys envious." Road to the arena, and others joked. Brahmin even urged Lu Cheng to post a photo, but was mercilessly and cruelly refused. Okay, don't force little tiger. He is very shy. Wonton Seller snickered. At this time, Road to the arena, at the moderator, Pig Riding, we have known each other for a long time. When are we going to organize a meetup? Okay, how about after little Wonton finishes her college entrance examination? Pig Riding Knight answered quickly. Wow. After I finish my college entrance examination, Wonton Seller said happily. The focus of the group of people's discussion soon shifted to the meetup. Lu Cheng watched silently, occasionally interrupting leisurely. Sometimes he would brag with Fatty Jiang and the others, and sometimes he would call his mother and tell her that he had won the competition. For him, this feeling was very comfortable. He was not only the calm and fierce Lu Cheng in the arena, a genius fighter who defeated strong opponents consecutively, but he was also a living person with his own social circle, his own daily life, his own happiness, anger, sorrow, and joy. Similarly, the people around him also had their own lives. In their own world, they were also the protagonists. When all these things were intertwined, it was called life. The leisure afternoon passed quickly. Lu Cheng received a message from Jika. I am back. Wait for me at the intersection of Red Maple Road outside the first cafeteria. P.S. I am asking for monthly votes. There are more in the day. Chapter 125. Red Maple Road Crossing? Why not wait in the cafeteria? It's so cold outside. Lu Cheng was confused, but he didn't care. Wearing his daytime clothes, he quickly ran to the bathroom and put cold water on his face to make himself more energetic. He went downstairs and walked all the way to the destination. He didn't have to look for Jika deliberately. He found her among the boys who came and went in front of him. She was sitting on a wooden bench outside the red maple forest, bathing in the afterglow of the setting sun. She was looking at her phone with her black hair hanging down, peaceful and beautiful like a flawless picture. Lu Cheng almost held his breath for fear of breaking the beautiful picture. But the anxiety in his heart urged him to quickly come to Jika's side. He blurted out, "Are you cold? Hey, what kind of greeting is this? Isn't this what I was worried about just now?" Looking at him, who was a little dumbfounded, Jika stood up, looked around, lowered her head and laughed. "My quilted jacket is quite warm. She was wearing a pink quilted jacket, full of the air of a young girl. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, she looked to the side and pointed to the paper bag on the ground as if nothing had happened. When I was shopping with Qing, I happened to see a martial arts shoe store on sale. I thought your shoes were broken, so I bought a pair. You can try it on. While talking, a suspicious blush appeared on her face. Lu Qing was stunned at first, and then he felt a burst of joy in his heart, like a rolling mountain rock, crushing all other thoughts. She bought it specially for me, didn't she? Or why didn't she mention it earlier or later? Why did she say she was going shopping with Guqing just after the competition? Or why did she happen to see a martial arts shoe sale? Glancing at his happy and enlightened expression, Yanjika flew into a rage out of humiliation. I just happened to see it. Where do you think you are going? Before she finished her words, she suddenly felt a shadow in front of her, and then she was embraced by a thick chest. She shouted in a low voice, struggling and twisting. Lu Qing heard that she didn't use much strength, so he held her firmly and refused to let go. Yanjika tried a few times but failed. She clenched her fist and hit Lu Qing's shoulder playfully. How can you hug me like that? In public? Because I was too excited and happy. Lu Qing impulsively hugged the girl. Looking at her silky black hair, smelling the waves of fragrance, feeling the light and delicate body, he gradually came to a decision. The excitement just now had lost its intensity, but it had become long-lasting. Everything seemed to have quieted down. Lu Qing wanted to kiss her hair quietly, but Yanjika was still not comfortable enough. Worried about the eyes of the passers-by, she struggled again and said in a flirtatious tone, "Hurry up and try on your shoes." Knowing that the girl was thin-skinned, Lu Qing didn't ask again. He loosened his arms and sat on the bench with a smile that wouldn't fade away. He took out the shoe box from the paper bag. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a few boys passing by with disappointment. They seemed to have found that a good cabbage had been eaten by a dog. Until now, Lu Qing finally understood why Yanjika didn't wait in the cafeteria. It felt weird to try on shoes when everyone was eating. After putting on the shoes, he stood up and walked a few steps. He put on the stance and tested the feeling of strength. He praised sincerely, "It suits you very well. It suits you better than the previous pairs of martial arts shoes. How did you know my size?" Seeing that he was really satisfied, Yanjika pursed her pink lips and slightly raised her chin. She said with a little pride, "I am a mountain master with divine foresight." Lu Qing vaguely guessed that she had peeked at his shoes when she was helping him take them out today. But he didn't want to spoil the fun. He laughed and said, No, it's not me." "Then what is it?" Yanjika was confused. Lu Qing pretended to be serious and said, "It's me, a mountain master with divine foresight." Yanjika couldn't help but laugh and turned her head. She said with hatred, "I didn't expect you to be such a mushy Cheng." After flirting for a while, Lu Qing changed back to his old shoes. He said with joy and embarrassment, "I don't want to wear this pair of shoes. It's the first gift you gave me. What if it breaks?" He had already made up his mind to wear this pair of shoes when he was practicing martial arts. Yanjika snickered and said, "If it breaks, you have to collect the pieces and stick them on yourself. Then you can worship them." On this topic, the two chatted and walked hand in hand into the cafeteria. They chose a small pot of stir-fry. After dinner, Lu Qing didn't want to be separated from the girl. He said in a low voice, "I remember you don't have class tonight?" "Yes." Yanjika answered with a smile. "What do you want to say?" Lu Qing suggested, "Didn't I say I would be your sparring partner this weekend? Yesterday we had a date and today we have a competition. I don't have time to do it. Coincidentally, I don't have class tonight either. How about we go to the martial arts club to practice?" After personally experiencing the atmosphere of the challenge tournament as a substitute, Yanjika was indeed eager to give it a try. Hearing Lu Qing's words, she hesitated for a minute before saying, "Okay then. Anyway, I haven't been back to the dormitory yet, and I still have my martial arts suit with me. I won't go back to get my martial arts suit. I don't need to be so formal as a sparring partner. Besides, I also have the martial arts shoes you gave me. It's a good chance to experience it." Lu Qing said happily, "Let's walk there and digest first." He lifted all the bags and naturally picked up the girl's left hand with his right hand. Their fingers intertwined and they walked towards the long bridge. "By the way, I have a fan form now." Lu Qing remembered this and said with a little bit of pride. Yanjika opened her mouth slightly and said in a cute way, "Fan forum? Yours?" Why couldn't these two words be connected? Yes, fans who supported me because they watched my challenge tournament. They established it themselves. Lu Qing clarified, afraid that Yan Zhika would misunderstand that he had tricked the little girl into becoming his fan. Really? Yan Zhika withdrew her hand with excitement and curiosity. She took out her phone and said, "Where? Where is it?" After saying this, she pouted and mocked herself. "It should be out if I search your name." "I'm so stupid." She searched for Lu Qing and found the forum. She clicked in and read the post carefully. Lu Qing had an ulterior motive. He reached out and held her waist with the excuse that he was afraid that she would fall. Because it was winter and she was wearing a lot of clothes, he couldn't feel her slender body. These two moderators are so funny. I feel like they are little girls. Yan Zhika turned her head and looked at Lu Qing with bright eyes. "Qing, you have so many fans who support you before I know it. I didn't expect it either," Lu Qing said sincerely. Yan Zhika chuckled. "I'll be your fan too. Well, let's register an ID first. What should I call it? It should be simple, plain, generous and direct." Simple, plain, generous and direct? Lu Qing racked his brain and helped to think of a nickname. At this moment, Yan Zhika laughed and said, "I've got it." "What's your name?" Lu Qing asked curiously. Yan Zhika took the phone to the other side and said with her back to Lu Qing, "After I reply to the post, you can see it yourself." This made Lu Qing's heart itch even more. He calmed down and waited for a while. When he heard Yan Zhika say done, he quickly took out his mobile phone and entered the forum. He saw a signed post with a new reply. The reply was called Lu Qing's girlfriend. He was stunned and his mouth twitched. He looked at Yan Zhika with a smile. So simple and plain. So generous and direct. Of course. Yan Zhika smiled and raised her head slightly. In another room in another city, Yan Shaoling also saw this ID and blurted out, "My sister is so awesome." It was still early. There were many teachers and students in the martial arts stadium who came to work out. Yan Zhika changed into her martial arts suit and Lu Qing took off his coat and new shoes. They found a secluded corner and started to simulate actual combat. During this process, Lu Qing not only had to defend with all his might, but he also had to attack with all his might. Since there was no referee, he had to strictly control his strength and discretion. In the beginning he was very cautious, afraid that he would hurt the girl. As time went by, he gradually grasped the threshold, and his control of his body seemed to have deepened. He felt that he could do whatever he wanted without breaking the rules. Yan Zhika's footwork was light and fast. Using her spine as a whip, she drove the rebound force from her feet and hit Lu Qing's head with a cut punch. Lu Qing lifted his shoulder, put his left arm up and rotated his waist. His muscles and joints shook together and he suddenly exerted force, imitating Jianghu's swing force. This was his 7th or 8th attempt. He didn't succeed before. Relying on his rich experience in actual combat, he didn't give Yan Zhika any chance. But after several failures he had mastered some tricks. Bang! Yan Zhika's cut punch hit Lu Qing's arm, but as if she was pushed, she lost her balance and stumbled to the side. Lu Qing was afraid that she would fall, so he caught up with her in one stride. He reached out and grabbed her forearm. With a skillful move, he pulled her back to lean against him. As she leaned against him, their eyes met. Lu Qing was close to Yan Zhika's soft and light body. Looking into her watery eyes, he suddenly felt that the surroundings were quiet. Yan Zhika also seemed to feel the strangeness. Her eyelashes trembled a few times as if she was a little shy. Lu Qing could smell her warm and sweet scent. Unconsciously, his breathing became heavy. He did not know if other people would want to be intimate because of the burst of emotions when they made eye contact. He only knew that he was most likely a beast, and emotions were only a part of the reason. Most of it was because he felt that the girl was very beautiful and seemed to be very fragrant, sweet, and alluring. He wanted to kiss her. His breath became heavier and heavier. His eyes became hot and his heart beat faster and faster, full of desire and anxiety. His head unconsciously moved closer to the girl. Thump, thump, thump. Yan Zhika couldn't tell whose heartbeat it was. It seemed that she couldn't bear such a close approach and didn't dare to look into Lu Qing's hot eyes. Her cheeks turned red, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. Then she slowly closed her eyes. The closer they got, the closer they got, the closer they were. Lu Qing held his breath. When he was about to touch her, he suddenly heard a loud bang. Yan Zhika was awakened. She pushed him away and stepped back like a little white rabbit. She was shy and timid. Lu Qing was disappointed and angry. He turned to the source of the sound. Not far away, two boys were practicing back throws. I have to teach them a lesson and tell them to practice carefully without professional guidance in case they get hurt. Lu Qing gasped. Yanjika laughed and rolled her eyes at him. She said with a red face, "Let's go back. We have been practicing for almost an hour." Lu Qing said with an exaggerated expression, "What a pity. I don't know when I will have another chance." Yanjika pursed her lips and looked at the sky. She said in a coquettish yet angry tone, "Let's wait patiently." After taking a shower and changing clothes, the two strolled back to the dormitory, enjoying the tranquility and beauty of the night. No matter how long the journey was, it would be over eventually. Lu Qing and Yanjika stood at the door of their dormitory reluctant to leave. Suddenly Yanjika playfully puffed her cheeks and said, "Close your eyes." "Why?" Lu Qing asked subconsciously. Yanjika glanced at him and said, "No reason. Just close your eyes." Lu Qing suddenly thought of her shy initiative when they held hands for the second time. His heart suddenly beat faster. Is she going to take the initiative to kiss me? He closed his eyes and held his breath, looking forward to the beautiful scene. At this moment he felt his mouth being flicked. He opened his eyes in surprise and saw Yanjika laughing happily while escaping back to the dormitory. "Haha, it wants to bully me." Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He watched Yanjika walk back to the dormitory with light steps, turning his head every few steps. If I had achieved the initial level of ice mirror and could sense it, I would have grabbed her hand, pulled her into my arms and kissed her fiercely. Standing outside the dormitory, he touched his lips in disappointment and was full of motivation to practice martial arts. P.S. Third update. Thank you all for your tips. Thank you all league leaders. I ask for more votes next month. The gap is getting bigger and bigger. Please support me. Chapter 126. The pedestrian street was brightly lit, and all the shops were still open. The pedestrians were full of youthful spirit. Lu Qing carried the paper bag with the shoebox and slowly walked around. He calmed down and looked around with interest from a bystander's point of view. Did that guy not eat? He's wolfing down the sausages. That couple is probably his senior brother and sister. They found a secluded corner and dared to kiss until the sky turned dark. He took out his phone from time to time to reply to Yanjika's messages. He listened to her complain that she had just learned that she had to hand in her homework in advance. When Lu Qing returned to the dormitory leisurely, Kai Zongming, Qiu Zhigao, and the others hadn't returned yet. The small dormitory was quiet and peaceful. He took out the shoebox and looked at it gently for a while. His mouth unconsciously outlined an obvious curve. A gift from Yanjika. A gift from Yanjika. After a moment of smirk, he looked for the receipt. He was afraid that the girl had spent too much money. However, there was nothing extra in the paper bag or the shoebox. Obviously, Yanjika had taken it away carefully. But it's not a problem for me. Lu Qing smiled and turned on the computer. He searched for the brand and series and found the official website and the relevant page. So expensive. Even with the discount, it should be at least 700 or 800 yuan. He looked at the screen and said to himself, martial arts shoes were purely consumable items for professional martial artists. No matter how good the material was, as long as it wasn't some kind of black technology, it would still break down after a few intense battles. Therefore, the price of normal martial arts shoes was on the lower side. 200 to 300 yuan was already considered pretty good. Most martial artists would at most equip themselves with a pair of shoes made of better and more comfortable material for their daily training. That way they could last for a long time. Lu Qing looked at the pair of martial arts shoes with a little warmth and happiness. He couldn't bear to part with them. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind. I have to give her a gift too. The first gift as a boyfriend. Once the thought came to him, he couldn't stop it anymore. He looked at the screen and fell into deep thought, thinking about what gift to give Yanjika. She doesn't seem to lack anything. I can't ask talker. The first gift has to have my own feelings. As a young man in the internet age, he subconsciously opened the search page and typed in the words, gift for girlfriend. He watched and learned carefully to stimulate his inspiration. At this moment, the sound of a key turning came from outside, and the door was opened. A burst of noisy footsteps approached from afar. Lu Qing withdrew his gaze and looked at the door. He saw Zhao Chang push the door open and enter. Kai Zongming and Qiu Zhigao each supported Zhang Jingya and followed closely behind. Their faces were as red as cooked crabs, and the smell of alcohol filled their nostrils. You drank a lot? Lu Qing laughed. Zhao Chang shook his head. It's fine. You don't know, but each of those girls can drink more than the other. If they didn't know how to restrain themselves, I would have crawled under the table today. It's not that they're restraining themselves, it's that they're smart. If they really get drunk by drinking with a few guys they're not familiar with, who's going to send them back? In the end they still have to trouble themselves. Kai Zongming sneered. Although his face was red, he was not drunk and was quite sober. Lu Qing chuckled. So the model worker was targeted? Isn't that obvious? He is the star of the show today. After Kai Zongming and Qiu Zhigao helped Zhang Jingye to sit down in his chair, one went to get a foot basin. Fearing that Zhang Jingye could not help but vomit, the other wet a towel and helped him apply it to his face. After a while, Zhang Jingye barely recovered and smiled bitterly. I always thought that my drinking capacity as a Northwest man was enough to deal with 4 little girls. In the end, I'm only a little better than Wu Qian. Your wife is also drunk? Why don't they just send you to the bridal chamber? Lu Qing joked. Qiu Zhigao said helplessly, because we're also a little dizzy from drinking. After teasing and laughing for a while, Zhao Chang suddenly looked at Lu Qing and asked curiously, Qing, with your current skills you're worth 10,000 a month, right? Lu Qing thought for a while and said, almost. According to the related posts he saw when he was lurking in the Longhu Club forum, the monthly salary of a professional 9th pin fighter was at least 10,000 yuan. Including the prize money from the challenge tournament and various competitions, those who were lucky could earn up to 300,000 to 400,000 yuan a year, and those who were poor could earn up to 100,000 yuan. This was not including the part of the business of martial arts school or the entanglement with the underworld, but it was already so much above the ordinary white-collar workers. Of course, people like Jiang Guoxing and Fang Tong would get a big discount because they were in their master's martial arts club. But correspondingly, the martial arts club would bear the cost of practicing martial arts. After entering the Dan stage and crossing the threshold of professional 9th pin, the income would surge again. However, since this stage covered professional 8th pin to professional 4th pin, there was a big gap between their strength and their income. A professional fighter who had just entered professional 8th pin could get 5 or 600,000 a year, and it was not surprising that a veteran 4th pin fighter could get 6 or 7 million, and this was only the part that was announced. It did not include the various industries they were involved in because of their strength. As for the mighty ones of physical invulnerability, they could not be measured by money. Their annual salary from their own forces was probably pocket money. Even so, this part of the income was at least 10 million. Because of this, the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament could effectively exclude the strong. Only the nearby professional 9th pin fighters or those who were in urgent need of money would participate. For children like Lu Qing who had suffered hardships, every time they thought of this income, their motivation to practice martial arts would be stronger. Hearing the affirmative answer, Zhao Chang could not help but sigh. I always feel that you and I are not in the same world. I can only say Lu Qing was puzzled by his pause. Zhao Chang turned back and chuckled. Don't forget your friends when you are rich. Of course, who are we? If you master the skills, succeed in your business and become a big boss in the future, you can't forget us. Lu Qing followed and made a joke. After joking with each other for a while, they sent Zhang Jingye to bed and went to wash their faces and sober up. When Lu Qing walked to the living room, he saw Kai Zongming standing by the glass door to the balcony, staring outside. Talker, why did you talk so little just now? It's not like you, he said with concern. Kai Zongming smiled and said, I'm a little sad because of your words. What are you sad about? Lu Qing was puzzled and laughed. Kai Zongming sighed and said, I said before that I like martial arts and wanted to try if I could take this path. I mean it. My dad always wants me to go back to our small town and help him take care of his company, but this is not what I want. Wow, you are really rich. Lu Qing said sarcastically, why don't you want it? So many people are looking forward to such a good thing. Kai Zongming shook his head and laughed. Do you think it's good? If you always work with your parents, you will feel that you are not growing up. And you will definitely not be financially independent. How much you earn is in their eyes and under their control. Although you can ask them for money when you are not enough, don't you feel sullen? If there is a disagreement, you won't have the confidence to argue with them, unless you wait until my dad retires. But he is only in his 40s and is in good health. He can work for another 20 years. Also, when I think about what kind of life I will lead in the next few years or so, I feel scared. I'm scared that I will accept reality and return to our small rundown city like a pool of stagnant water. So, I have to work hard now and try to find my own path in martial arts. If I can't, I will consider starting my own business in the future. I won't accept reality until I am exhausted. Speaking of this, he looked at Lu Cheng with a bright smile and said, Cheng, I really envy you. You can continue to make me envy you. Lu Cheng was touched by his words and punched Kai Zhongming's shoulder. Come on. Kai Zhongming also punched him back. Godfather. Lu Cheng's expression suddenly became sluggish. He felt that the atmosphere was ruined by talker. He gnashed his teeth and said, Get lost. The next morning, Lu Cheng became more and more focused on cultivation. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jindan, he slowly expanded his senses and comprehended the ice mirror visualization bit by bit. The anxiety of not being able to get started had completely faded away. Later on, he gradually touched the edge of the Thunder Roar Zen. Geezer sure looked at him and sighed. I thought you would be obsessed with beauty and relax your requirements for a short time. I didn't expect you to be more diligent. She is my motivation. Lu Cheng answered seriously and sincerely. Geezer sure nodded with satisfaction. Then I am relieved. How about this? I will set a small goal for you. What small goal? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Geezer sure laughed. In the competition with Fearless Squad, I don't expect you to win the whole game. But if you and Lin K face Wei Xingtian, the one of professional 8th pin, in your best condition, I want you to take him down by attrition battle. It was not shameful to admit that there was a big gap between himself and the Danchi state. And thinking that he and Lin K would challenge Wei Xingtian again and try to defeat him, Lu Cheng was full of anticipation. Why didn't he dare to think about it? Why didn't he dare to try? Who's afraid of who? He nodded hard and answered his master, okay. In Yimo City Martial Arts Gym, Wei Xingtian was topless, revealing his well-defined muscles. His skin was a little greenish-black as if cast from stone. Are you okay? He asked the slightly vexed big boy in front of him. Chiu Yang was fair and clean. He looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. He said sullenly, I can't use my left hand. But if we really fight in the next round, I can still fight. Wei Xingtian sighed and said, If I had known, I wouldn't have let you be the vanguard. Once you fight 2 rounds in a row, your fighting style will hurt yourself too easily. You won't fight in the next round against Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Rest well. Old Dong and I can handle it no problem. Thinking that Songqing University Martial Arts Club only had 2 professional 9th pin fighters, Xiao Yang did not insist and agreed. Okay, Brother Wei, I will be your cheerleader. P.S. 4th update, monthly votes. Don't be afraid of others with red envelopes. Many grains make a tower, many little grains make a mickle. Relying on the power of humanity, half of the friends who subscribe will get 2 monthly votes each. Chapter 127. At noon, Lu Cheng turned on his computer and logged into his mailbox to download the information of Fearless Squad sent by his master. He had just invited all the members of the special martial arts training to a meal to celebrate the victory against Hongluo Martial Arts School yesterday, and also as an apology for abducting the treasure of the martial arts school. Because most of them were guys with amazing appetites, even if the cafeteria's single pot of stir-fry, they still ate more than 600 yuan, not including the wine he gave to Geezer Sure. After the meal, Sun Jian, Li Mao and the others found him and said that the treat was just a joke and that the main purpose was to split the meal. They wanted to give him more money. After all, they were all students without a stable source of income and lived on the money given by their families. It was really not good to eat half a month's worth of food expenses in one meal. Lu Cheng had the prize money of the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament and New Year's money, and also the living expenses that his mother specially increased to 2,000 yuan. He appreciated their kindness and said that since he had promised he should really do it. Li Mao and Sun Jian also searched for this junior brother's information and knew that he earned a lot from the challenge tournament during the winter vacation. Seeing that he insisted, they didn't force him. After such a meal, Lu Cheng was completely familiar with the senior brothers and sisters of the senior grade. Under their teasing, Yanjika gradually became thick-skinned and no longer shy and timid, and could proudly respond to their teasing. This allowed Lu Cheng to be close to her from time to time and didn't have to worry about her being afraid of other people's eyes. When the parties involved feel nothing about something, the onlookers will lose the fun of teasing. Recalling Yanjika's arrogance just now, Lu Cheng wore a fascinated smile. After the download of the information, he first opened Wei Xingtian's introduction. Wei Xingtian, 25 years old, broke through to Danchi state a year ago and is classified as professional 8th pin. Majored in Brightstone skill, good at giant spirit pounding skill. Brightstone skill, a hard body skill. Starting from meditation, continuous spiritual visualization, external attacks and medicinal soup and ointment are practiced. Not as good as Golden Bell Shield, Immortal Flesh, Cold Jade Tactics and other top physical skills and supernatural ability of metallized part of the body, but not to be underestimated. It is much better than Iron Shirt without visualization. The body is as hard as stone and can effectively reduce the damage of sharp weapons and resist the hit of sticks and so on. At this point, Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. In this case, the Brightstone skill was equivalent to the divine skill of the police academy, the Golden Jade body. After quickly browsing through the introduction, he clicked on Wei Xingtian's most recent performance video. He saw this dance stage expert violently hammering and smashing a piece of bluestone. Moreover, when he was facing a sneak attack with his eyes covered, he was able to react immediately and accurately counterattack as soon as his opponent made a move. The strength of the whole body is as one, just like the Big Dan of the human body, with absolute reaction. Lu Qing murmured to himself, gaining a clearer understanding of this. When one reached the deep level of the Danchi state, Kung Fu would not only enter one's bones and internal organs, but also every tiny part of one's body. One would have perfect control over one's skin and pores, making one's body a whole. One's senses would be so sharp that it was inhuman. One would be able to do all kinds of seemingly inconceivable things such as, not even a feather is added, not even a fly is left behind. Wei Xingtian had just entered the Dan stage, so obviously he had not reached this level yet. However, he could still see something from it. At his level, because of the transformation of the body from the outside to the inside, his own strength had become quite terrifying. Moreover, he could really go all out with every punch and kick. Unlike Lu Qing and Lin Ke, who could control the body and twist the power of the whole body with the use of the waist and back as the axis, but the power that was actually used and sent out definitely could not reach 99%. Being able to use 60% or 70% of the whole body was already considered outstanding in the body refining state. Even so, it was still thanks to Lu Qing's success in meditation and skillful skills. Lin Ke was close to the Dan stage, so it was very difficult for others to do the same. Wei Xingtian belongs to the strength type, unlike Jianglan, who I saw in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament, who is more skillful and flexible. Just thinking about the power contained in one punch is frightening. Lu Qing watched the battle video instead and grimaced. The only good thing was that his body was far from the profound level of gang qi condensation and subtle changes. He was still a human. If he used all his strength in every attack, he would not be able to bear it for long. After 3 or 4 consecutive attacks, there would definitely be problems and an overload situation. Therefore, unless it was a critical moment, he would not bear to fight like this. Normally, he would mix in ordinary attacks with occasional outbursts. And his ordinary attacks were almost as powerful as Jiangguisheng's 7th or 8th outburst, which was the kind that Lu Qing could only block with all his strength. Master lied to me. Just relying on me and Lin Ke to take turns to fight him, the hope of taking him down is not big. This is not a small goal. Shaking his head in grief and indignation, Lu Qing looked at the information of the 2 professional 9th pin fighters, Dong Yi and Qiu Yang. The former had the family heirloom Rolling Thunder Palm, while the latter had the nickname Mad Dog. His own master had specially commented that his fighting style was somewhat similar to the unique skills of the Death Sect. After roughly browsing through, Lu Qing sent a scared-to-tears emoji to Yanjika. Have you seen the information? Dan stage is so scary. The newbie is trembling in fear. Yanjika replied with a laughing emoji. Come cry for me. Is there a reward for crying? Lu Qing asked shamelessly. Yes, there is. The reward is a slap, Yanjika joked and put on an emoji with her hands crossed under her chin. Let me tell you a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. What's the good news? Lu Qing asked curiously. Yanjika snickered and said, It is said that Qiu Yang of Fearless Squad was injured in the last preliminaries. He was injured? Why is it not in the information provided by Coach Shi? Lu Qing asked in surprise. Yanjika used an emoji of spreading out her hands and shaking her head. Maybe Coach Shi doesn't like them and is too lazy to take the initiative to collect information. I just found their last match and found this out. Quickly say that Coach Yan is awesome. Coach Yan is awesome. Lu Qing immediately replied and then asked thoughtfully, What's the bad news? Only 1 professional 9th pin left? His injury may not be serious. It's hard to say if he won't fight against us. Yenjika replied with a laughing and crying emoji. Anyway, you don't need to care about this. If you can win 1 or 2 rounds of professional 9th pin battle, it won't be considered a failure. After all, the other side has a dance stage master. Lu Qing replied with an I'm scared emoji, but coach sure set a small goal for me. What small goal? Yenjika asked with a bright and spirited emoji. He said that if your cousin and I face Wei Xingtian in our best condition, we will strive to take him down by attrition battle. Lu Qing replied with a crying and clenching fist emoji. That's really a small goal? Yenjika stared blankly and then said with a smirk, although the hope is not big, it's not completely impossible. Qing, I have faith in you, I'll work hard. Lu Qing replied with a determined emoji. Anyway, no one will find it strange if I lose, but he will lose face if he loses. Who's afraid of who? In the next few days he practiced very hard. But whether it was Ice Mirror or Thunder Roar Zen, they were not martial arts that could be mastered overnight. They were not things that could be mastered by exploding the seed. It could only be said that the former still needed time, while the latter was getting better and better. As for the time with Yenjika, because they were both busy with martial arts training in their own courses, they could not spend much time alone together. But they could often make eye contact, chat on the phone, have lunch and dinner together, hold hands and occasionally take a stroll. He felt very satisfied and happy. Days passed and in the blink of an eye, it was Friday afternoon. Lu Qing sat in the lecture hall, waiting for a politics-related public class to begin. This kind of public class did not involve professional content, and at the end of the term it was usually open book and the difficulty was not high. Most people could easily pass it and it would not affect their job search in the future, so truants were everywhere. Lu Qing had planned to come with Kai Zongming, but after a week of hard work he wanted to relax, so he shouted that a college life without truancy is not a complete college life, and chose to stay in the dormitory. To be honest, if Yenjika's class was not a professional class, in a small classroom with only 30 or 40 people, and it was not easy to sneak in, he would have skipped class to accompany his girlfriend. Since he could not accompany his girlfriend, what was the difference between doing homework in the dormitory and doing homework in class? The latter was easier to concentrate. Just as he was thinking about this, he suddenly saw Zhao Chang coming in with a shoulder bag, so he waved his hand and greeted him, asking him to come and sit down. Chang, why are you in this class? Lu Qing asked in surprise. For a learning maniac like him, such classes were called self-study classes, and he would go to the library when he was supposed to. Zhao Chang put down his bag and laughed. Isn't it the same everywhere? You don't have to worry about the roll call if you study here. That's true. Lu Qing laid out his homework intending to work hard and save time. But it was a large-scale public class with more than 200 people in 5 classes, and it was doubtful whether there were even 100 people in the class. I guess it's time for the roll call. Zhao Chang looked around with a deep sense of anxiety. Lu Qing also looked around and nodded. There are so few people, the professor will be angry? It can't be helped. Since there are so many people, it's not a big deal if I'm not there. Besides, there are other students who can help, so they don't come. Besides, today is Friday? Zhao Chang was not surprised. He took out his phone, intending to call his roommates and ask them to study by themselves. Lu Qing also unlocked his phone and was about to call little Ming. At this moment, Professor Yu, who was in charge of this class, walked into the classroom and took a deep look at the empty seats on the stairs. When the bell rang, he immediately turned around, closed the front door, and ordered his classmates to lock the back door. Then, under the gaze of pairs of blank eyes, he took out a stack of test papers from his briefcase and said loudly, "Today is a small test in class, an open book test. The score will account for 20% of the final score. The questions are very simple. As long as you do it, you can get 20 points. In other words, those who did not do this set of questions would lose 20 points at the end of the term. Damn, you can do this." Lu Qing and Zhao Chang looked at each other, feeling a little lucky. They then observed a minute of silence for Talker and the others. After sending the message and fulfilling their responsibilities, they received the test papers. As expected, the questions were very simple. "Professor Yu has been planning this for a long time," Lu Qing exclaimed. Zhao Chang nodded. "And he didn't show any signs of it before. No wonder we heard that he was one of the famous detectives. We didn't believe it." As he spoke, he said with nostalgia, "Professor Zhang, who taught calculus in the previous semester, was better. He never took attendance and he was very upright." "What do you mean?" Lu Qing asked curiously. Didn't Tang Wen fail calculus? Thinking that the makeup exam was coming up, he went to the old campus last weekend and called Professor Zhang to give him some gifts so that he would miss the questions. Zhao Chang gossiped. Professor Zhang didn't accept it? Lu Qing suddenly realized. Zhao Chang laughed. Not only did he not accept it, he even made Tang Wen wait for him in the old teaching building and lectured him on the main points of calculus for the whole afternoon. He was so dizzy that he just wanted to cry. Professor Zhang is pretty good. Lu Qing sighed. It's not easy to find such a teacher. As they spoke, he shared the test as roll call incident with Yanjika. Yanjika replied quickly, our professor is even more perverted. There are 2 sections in one class and he takes attendance 5 times. But he's not as ruthless as your professor who takes 20 points in one go. After chatting for a while, he put down his phone and started to do the questions. Because he didn't listen to the lecture, his speed of finding the answers was very slow. Beside him, Zhao Chang was writing at lightning speed. Lu Qing was surprised and couldn't help but ask, Chang, have you seriously read the book? The book for this class? Zhao Chang nodded seriously. I'm a real fan. On Saturday afternoon, the group from Songqing University Martial Arts Club arrived at Yimo's train station. While they were on the way, Gizershur told them to take an afternoon nap to recover their energy so that they wouldn't be absent-minded in the afternoon. Lu Qing helped Yanjika carry her luggage and walked out of the train station side by side. They saw the slightly gray sky and smelled the faint smell of coal smoke in the air. Yimo was an old industrial city, famous for its combination of coal and steel. The pollution index was on the high side. There were rich mineral resources here and the people were tough. Chapter 128. The sky was foggy and the sun was cold. Led by Gizershur, the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members walked towards a minibus parked at the roadside. Lu Qing carried his own luggage on his back and Yanjika's small suitcase on his left hand. His right hand was intertwined with the girl's fingers, warming her delicate palm. They were at the back of the group, whispering sweet nothings as they discussed today's fighting strategy. The minibus driver opened the door of the driver's seat and greeted them enthusiastically. You're from Songqing University Martial Arts Club, right? You're Coach Shi, right? I'm Little Chui, the one who called you just now. I'm in charge of sending you to the venue. Gizershur pulled up the call log and showed it to him. After confirming his identity, he chuckled and said, Yimo's organization is pretty good. I thought I'd have to take a taxi myself. This was also the question and surprise of Lu Qing and the others. They didn't expect that there would be a person specially assigned to pick them up at the station. The driver said with a smile, Coach Shi, you're too kind. This is a grand occasion for Yimo's martial arts world. It's not easy to see the hope of winning a division in the preliminaries. Everyone is very enthusiastic and the government has specially sent people to coordinate and organize this. That's true. Yimo's martial arts atmosphere is very strong. If we're talking about overall strength, there's hope for the top 8 in the final stage of the preliminaries. It's just that, TSK, there are a lot of martial arts schools and many families. No one is willing to submit to another, so they can only compete on their own. Gizershur had some understanding of Yimo. The driver nodded vigorously and said, Coach Shi, you're right. If it weren't for Invincible Wei coming forward to organize and challenge each and every one of those seniors, Yimo would still be in a state of disunity. Even so, Fearless Squad has gathered at most 50 to 60% of the talents. If the entire martial arts world were to work together, there would be at least 2 dance stage fighters and 5 to 6 professional 9th pin fighters. Invincible Wei? Sun Jian, who was beside Gizershur, asked curiously. The driver chuckled and said, in our local area, Wei Xingtian's reputation has always been resounding. This time he won all the challenges and could be considered invincible in Yimo. Hence, everyone gave him the nickname, Invincible Wei. My apologies. Alright, everyone quickly get in the car. It's quite cold outside. Invincible Wei. Hearing this nickname, Lu Qing felt a surge of emotion and yearning for it. Yang had 3 districts and 7 counties under its jurisdiction, with a total population of more than 5 million people. Furthermore, the people there were tough and valiant. There were many martial arts schools and many inheritances. To be able to defeat all the local martial artists without defeat, and to be called invincible among the 5 million people, just thinking about it made one feel a sense of pride and heroism. And I have a small goal. I want to team up with Lin Ke and defeat this invincible Wei. It feels similar to Xioshan. There should be a secret government organization. Yan Zhika whispered in Lu Cheng's ear and walked along the aisle to the back row. Lu Cheng felt the girl's breath brushing past his ear, tickling his heart. So he moved closer and whispered, Coach Yan is right. However, the martial arts ethos of Xioshan is not as good as that of Yimo, and the strength of our martial artists is also far inferior. Our attitude towards the government is more respectful and obedient. As she breathed in and out, he saw Yenjika's small and lovely ears slowly turn red, revealing a little bit of crystal and translucent, which was very beautiful. Don't come so close. Yenjika lightly hit him and moved to the window seat. Lu Cheng secretly snickered and unceremoniously occupied the seat next to the girl, ignoring Guqing's sad eyes. For this expedition to Yimo, only the main force and substitutes who participated in the preliminaries came. Among the other special training members, only Li Xiaowen, who was in charge of logistics, followed. As for Kai Zhongming and the others, because the school did not reimburse their transportation expenses, and because there was no hope of winning this battle, they were too lazy to travel back and forth and stayed in the school. After sitting down, Yenjika suddenly laughed in a low voice and looked up at Gizershur in front of her. She lowered her head and said in a voice as soft as a mosquito, Speaking of which, I still don't know what Coach Shur's full name is. I've been calling him Coach Shur. Lu Cheng listened and took a deep breath. It's true. As a pro-disciple, it has been half a year and I still don't know my master's full name. Isn't that too careless? He seriously repented and decided to help his master get the ticket on the way back and peek at his ID card. This kind of thing was not good to ask directly. If his master replied with, You still don't know, then he would have to find a hole to hide in. At this moment, the minibus started moving. The driver laughed and said, Actually, there's another reason why I came to pick you up today. If you go by yourself, you probably won't be able to enter the stadium. You might even encounter danger. Won't be able to enter the stadium? Might encounter danger? Lu Cheng and the others looked at each other in confusion. Only Gizershur did not find it strange. He took out a small wine bottle and drank happily. Why can't we enter? Guqing asked loudly. The driver laughed and said, You'll know in a while. This wait lasted for 20 minutes. When the minibus arrived at the entrance of Yimo City's martial arts arena, Lu Cheng saw a crowd of people. Some of them were holding small trumpets and were happily blowing into them. The humming sound echoed in the surroundings. Some of them were knocking on the nearby iron railings and other objects, making rhythmic thumping sounds. They all looked like they had too much energy. At a glance, there were at least a few thousand people. When there were more than 10,000 people, there was no end in sight. In the open space outside the martial arts stadium, the thousands of people gave the Songqing University Martial Arts Club students a similar feeling. They all subconsciously held their breaths. When the crowd waiting to enter saw the minibus driving to the side door, they understood that the Songqing University Martial Arts Club had arrived. With a whoosh, countless spectators rushed over and surrounded the minibus, leaving only a narrow passage, making the minibus move as slowly as a crawling snail. One face after another moved closer to the window, opened their mouths and shouted loudly, My lord, go back! Go back! Go back, Songqing's leeches! Go back, hairless brats! The sound penetrated the window, deafening. Mouths opened and closed, revealing red tongues and white teeth. Sun Jin, Li Mao, and the others who had not seen much of the world were intimidated. Under this sudden change, they felt like they were in the end of the world, relying on the fragile minibus to resist the countless zombies. They felt like their small boat would be overturned by the wind and waves at any time, causing them to be swallowed miserably. Idiot, do you believe that I won't beat you up? Go back with your ass between your legs. More and more people gathered. Curses and shouts rose and fell one after another. Some of them were in high spirits, while others were venting the various emotions that they had been suppressing. Their faces had become distorted, and it was enough to scare a child to tears. The silence in the minibus, including Lu Cheng, was a little scared. This was a scene they had never experienced before. They felt that the crowd outside would turn into zombies at any time. Suddenly, someone rushed to the side of the slowly moving minibus, and reached out his hands to fiercely slap the glass next to Yenjika's face. Clap, clap, clap. The sound of glass rattling scared Yenjika so much that she shrank back and woke up. She let out a low cry. Seeing this, Lu Cheng forgot his fear and stood up abruptly. He squeezed himself to the window, blocking the view and protecting the girl. He bravely and firmly stared at the person who was banging on the window, ready to take action at any time. Facing his cold eyes, the man who was slapping the window was stunned. He did not know why he lost part of his courage, so he put up 2 thumbs and made a gesture of contempt. Lu Qing guarded by the window, unmoved. His left hand reached back and held Yenjika's soft hand, feeling the girl's heartbeat gradually calming down. After a long time, the minibus finally drove to the side door. The security personnel arrived and separated the crowd, escorting the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members to get off the bus and directly into the locker room. Only then did Li Mao and the others recover. They said with lingering fear, "It's just the preliminaries, is there a need to go to this extent?" Compared to Yimo, the atmosphere of Hongluo Martial Arts School's home ground was simply like a kindergarten child playing house. The minibus driver who accompanied them to the locker room smiled and said, "Didn't I say earlier? This is a grand occasion for our Yimo martial arts world." Lu Cheng and Yenjika looked at each other, feeling a little sweet and a little emotional. Different away games really had different styles. The martial arts fans of Yimo City who were unable to buy tickets turned on the TV on time to watch the live broadcast. The host said with a face full of smiles, "Thank you to the reporter in front for sending back the footage. My blood was boiling just now. The martial arts atmosphere of our Yimo City is really good. Everyone is also full of enthusiasm for this preliminaries. Alright, we've invited a heavyweight guest commentator. He will complete the live broadcast with us on TV and online. He's the famous martial arts commentator He Xiaowei. He Xiaowei was chubby like the Maitreya Buddha. He had a thick beard on his chin, but he didn't look fierce. Instead, he revealed a bit of cuteness. "Hello everyone watching the live broadcast. I'm your old friend He Xiaowei." He first bowed, then walked to the host and sat down. "Xiaowei, what do you think of today's competition?" The host asked with a smile. For this preliminaries, Yimo City had mobilized enough resources and even invited a well-known commentator in the country. He Xiaowei chuckled, "What can I think? This is bullying, this is bullying. I don't know if Qiu Yang can fight in the end. If he can, then there's a 200% chance of bullying. Even if he can't, with just Wei Xingtian and Dong Yi, it's like pinching a snail with 3 fingers. It's a 90% certainty. There's absolutely no way to turn the tables in this kind of competition. I don't believe that Songqing University Martial Arts Club can turn the tables." As time passed, it was almost 2:30 p.m. The referee walked up to the arena, and the audience had all entered, occupying rows of seats. There were at least 10,000 people, and it was a sea of people. Seeing the referee enter the arena, the audience at one side of the stands immediately shouted in an organized manner, "Yimo!" The other stands immediately responded and shouted in unison, "Invincible Wei! Yimo Invincible Wei!" In the away team's locker room, Lu Qing and the others were startled by the enthusiastic shouts and woke up from their meditation. In the home team's locker room, Dong Yi was wrapping a white bandage around his wrist while lamenting to Wei Xingtian, "I'm so envious. Old Dong, as long as you work hard to advance to the Dan stage, you'll also have such a day." Wei Xingtian half closed his eyes, enjoying the tsunami of cheers for him. Dong Yi shook his head and smiled bitterly, "With you in front, how can it be my turn?" At this point he paused for a moment and sighed. "However, sooner or later you'll jump out of this small circle of Yimo." Wei Xingtian didn't answer. He took a deep breath and said, "Today I'll be the vanguard and not give them any illusions." "Did you hear that? Are you envious? Are you afraid?" Geezer sure looked around and said calmly. Sun Jian couldn't help but sigh, "Such an atmosphere can kill. It's a pity that your strength is not enough. Otherwise you can defeat their fighters in such an atmosphere. Beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to silence, beat them to a pulp, beat them to silence and beat them to a pulp. That would be cool." Geezer sure laughed and said, "Hurry up and improve. I'm waiting for this day." These words made Lu Cheng and the others' blood boil. Just imagining such a scene made them tremble and full of desire. At this time Geezer sure looked at Lin Kei and smiled, "We're a weak team. From the beginning we have to do our best to win 1 or 2 rounds to look good. You're the main player, so you go first. You may encounter Wei Xingtian directly. When he's in his best condition, are you afraid?" Lin Kei suddenly raised his head and looked straight into Geezer Sher's eyes. His hands unconsciously clenched. "No. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.